Hello, good day, everyone. Welcome once again to our weekly live session. Today, I'm bringing you a discussion all the way from our guest who is in Canada. He used MPOWER to apply for his visa, and luckily, he got approved. So, I'm bringing him on board today to share with us his successes, the difficulties, and how he was able to make it here using an educational loan for his application. Good afternoon, my brother. You're welcome to the Delali Network.
Thank you very much, Sylvester.
How are you doing?
Very good, pretty good. I have an easy morning this morning and it's been pretty much good today.
Okay. I'm very glad that your day has been good. So let's just set the ball rolling. Kindly introduce yourself to our guest and any additional information you want to add. You kindly do that so that our listeners and viewers would get to know who you are before we start with the main session today. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Sylvester, once again. Hi, everybody. My name is Akwesi Champonamponsa. I am currently a graduate student at the University of Alberta, pursuing my master's in agricultural and resource economics. I am almost through with my school, currently working on my thesis, and I'll be out of school. So pretty much out of school. I had my undergrad in KNUST. I read agribusiness management, and I completed in 2019. So that is the basic background about my education up to this point.
Okay. So since I've not yet asked, but you've already included it, let's go straight to the point. How was life back in the university in Ghana?
At KNUST was pretty much good. Entering into KNUST, I didn't really like the course agribusiness. I am a business person. From my SHS background, I was very good with my accounting, with my business management and other things. Okay. And I hated the agri part. But then agribusiness became my second choice program at KNUST. And to me, at that time, it was quite unfortunate to get that program. But it turned out to be a blessing because as I got in there, I got some love for the program. And even presently, if you ask me to go back in time, I will still choose to do agribusiness over and over again. So in KNUST, it was quite easy, although it was cumbersome with the coursework because during the semester, you do about 8 to 9 courses because agribusiness is a combination of agriculture and business management. So we do some courses in the business unit and also some courses from the agric faculty. So it was really tough, but then I maneuvered my way through, and with the help of God, I could basically do it.
You made mention that you weren't at first interested in the program, but later on you develop love or passion for the program. What made you not interested in the program at first, but all of a sudden you develop a love or passion for the program? If you can say something brief on that.
All right. So growing up, I was, as I said earlier, I was more into the business aspect. My math is very good. So with math, with accounting, with econs, with business management, I was very good with those courses. So I
Okay.
felt if I were to do any course in the university, it should be something related to business. That was what I felt my specialization was. But here was the case, I was adding agric to the business aspect. And I remember very well in SHS, I used to look down upon the agric students some way, somehow, because I thought agric is a primitive program. When you do agric, you don't have a future. But they were all fallacies. As I grew through the program, I got to love it. So when I got to KNUST, I realized I was there. I had faced reality at that point, and so there was no turning back. Regardless of the fact that I like it, I don't like it, I was faced with it. So I have to face my foes and overcome it. And so that gave me the motivation to hit it. And I'm one person that when I set my mind to something, I make sure I get that target. And so when I got in there, I tried to read more on the agric part and love it because I didn't like it. So if I don't like something, it will be very hard for me to, do it. So I had to forcefully develop love for the agriculture and then I blend with the business part. So it made it a smooth run for me during my undergrad.
Okay. So, if you don't mind sharing, I know KNUST uses the CWA system. What was your CWA when you finished school, and what class did you finish with?
All right, so I finished with second class upper, but
Okay.
slightly below the mark. It was so painful. I started with first class, and when I started school in KNUST, it was pretty much easy. I got there with my first semester. I didn't even put any effort, and I realized I was in first class. So one, there was complacency over there. Two, those times KNUST was very, jamming, where we had the report week, we had the individual hall weeks, and I was a Katangi. So I
Oh,
used to
I
participate in
see.
all of those things. So I was
Okay.
like, I did all of these things and I still made first class. Oh, this looks pretty much easy. So I now began to slack, to be complacent. But then I completed with 69.89. So slightly below the first class. But it was all good.
That is still not bad. Looking at the program you studied, that is still not a bad CWA. That is a very strong one. So
Well,
congrats.
to me, not to sound boastful, but then um, with what I do and what I know and who I am, I think it was something bad. But yeah, it's good.
Okay. So after school, did you get the opportunity to like transition into the work sector? If yes, what did you do after school? Where did you work after school?
Okay, so after school, I completed school in 2019, as I said earlier. So I started my service in 2019 at the Resource Management Support Unit of the Forestry Commission
Okay.
in Kumasi, Edum to be precise. So that was where I was doing my national service. I did for a year. So within the ending part of my national service was where we had the COVID-19. And so work became kind of we go today, we don't go the next day, we halted a bit and other things. And so during those times, I was looking for opportunities to find a good job. But then, whilst I was working, I heard in Forestry Commission that it is possible to be retained after your national service. So I was also looking into that until COVID came and it shattered that dream because at that point the economy was broken down and employment halted and all those things. So I didn't really have hope in staying in there at Forestry Commission. But then from 2020, after my national service, I decided to move out of Kumasi. I wanted to go to Accra to experience life. I'm a guy, so I thought I wanted to leave my comfort zone and go to a place where my parents are not there. I wouldn't feel comfortable and live life as a man. And that took me to Accra. So in Accra, I stayed with my uncle for a while. I was working with him, and then I became a financial and administrative officer at his place. And then eventually I left the place because I got a very good offer to come back to Kumasi as an auditor. So I got back to Kumasi I worked in Accra from 2020 to 2023. And then in the later days of 2023, around October, I moved back to Kumasi to take the auditing role at KDA Accounting Services. So that was my last job that I did in Ghana before I left the country.
Okay. So if you're watching us now, we are live with our brother Kwesi, who is a master student at the University of Alberta, studying MSc Agric and Agric Economics. Is that right?
Agricultural and Resource Economics.
Okay, Agriculture and Resource Economics. So kindly share the link to all your various platforms, to your friends, to your family members, anyone interested in taking or pursuing his or her master's study abroad, especially in Canada. This discussion will be very, very helpful. So encourage someone to join. Okay, let's continue. Looking at all the countries available, the Europes, the US, the Asian countries, and what have you, what motivated you to settle on Canada? Was it like a dream country? Was it something you nursed whilst studying in school? That is why you pushed to finish with a very good CWA and a very good class, if you can clarify that.
So coming to Canada was in the initial stages, in the budding stage, was kind of unplanned. I
Okay.
knew I had plans for my life that I want to pursue masters after my undergrad, which I actually even assigned ages to it. That at the age of this I want to do this, at the age of that I want to do that. But then I was just throwing my stones around without any precision. So I remember very well during my national service time, I was applying to any opportunity that I see. Once I see there's an opportunity to any school, to any scholarship opportunity, I just apply to it. So I remember very well in 2020, I applied to the Hungarian government scholarship. I did same for Erasmus Mundus. I did same for the Chinese government scholarship, the Japanese MEST, and other things. I even applied to University of Adelaide, where I got admission, but then it came with less funding. I think it was 15% funding, and so I had a deficit of about 39,000 Australian dollars. And so that shattered my dream because I didn't even know what to do. My whole thing was I wanted to travel out. But then as to how to go by it, I had no plans. Okay, so let me get admission and then I take it on from there. I didn't have an extensive plan. So I was just throwing my net to anywhere. So I had a very good friend of mine. He's currently in the US, who was also doing the same thing. We were like-minded people. And
Okay.
so he was solely pushing to go to the US. And he was always advocating that, hey, let's do US, let's do US. But some way, somehow, I didn't also like the US for
Okay.
whatever reason. So anytime he tries to push me, I be like, okay, well, I'll do it. But I know deep down I will not do it. So eventually, this guy wrote the GRE. I told myself, I'm never going to write GRE because I won't go through the mail to write the GRE and then still apply to the university just like any other person. Because one, GRE is very costly those times because of my financial capacity. And I thought, if I write GRE, that should give me automatic entrance to any university. That was my mindset actually. But then why would I write GRE and still apply? Although I know it will give you some leverage, but I still didn't want to do it. So my guy did it, and then eventually he got admission to a university in the US, where he got fully funded, and he went there. So over there, I now had a red eye to also move there. So I was also applying. But with financial constraints, you could not apply extensively. So what I
Okay.
was doing was he gave me a formula that I should try to get in touch with the professors, and then I developed a cold email I was sending to professors. So when I wake up in the morning at work, when I get any break, I just be sending cold emails to professors. Then I will attach my transcript, I will attach my thesis, my undergrad thesis, and then my resume as well. And then I along the way I will get brokenhearted because you will send tons of messages to about tons of professors, and then at the end you will get no response. And then he told me, guy, you don't need to give up because you don't need all years, you need only 1 year. 1 year can change your life. So he talked to me about that, and I was still doing it. Sometimes I just slack and go off, but then you have you done it, have you done it? So it got to a time I was really doing this to a point that I had to even read professors publications because I had a dream of traveling abroad, but how to do it, I had no way. I had zero chance of even knowing it, and I didn't even know which resources to read to get to know how to do it. And so I was just hanging in there. I want to travel abroad, but I was blinded. That was basically it. And so I was reading professors' publications, trying to comment on the publications. I remember very well, I read a publication, I'd be like, say, I like your, I just give a generic, I just give a generic comment on it, trying to attract his attention for him to, some professors actually reply that there is no funding available at this time. Maybe you can look into it next 2 years and other things. But it was basically, I think the response rate was probably less than 10%. But then I still didn't give up. I was doing it. I did it for close to even more than 2 years. Yeah. And there was still no chance of me getting into it. And someday he would just try to motivate me that, hey, a guy just did it and he got a professor replied to him and all those things. And they will motivate me a bit, but then I was still slack. Until one time, so the Canadian dream was kind of a coincidence. It was actually not planned. It was a coincidence. So it was one time I was just tired after work and I was going through my statuses on WhatsApp and I saw a friend posting on his status that he has an application waiver, kind of, and that if he's charging he was charging $50 at that time, and I think the rate was 12 Ghana cedis to 1 USD. So that was what he said about it. So I texted him and I was like, hey buddy, like I'm interested in this and what is the way for it? He said, okay, so he's going to charge it's $50, although he had the waiver, whatever, he can apply to the school for me for free. So that time I was even financially not up there. So I had to contact my big brother who has been my backbone for over the years. And so he gave me the money to pay for that amount of money. That was 600 cedis. So I paid this guy for him to apply to this school for me, which I had no idea about what school it was. But then I was only holding on the fact that I know him personally. So I paid him. And then eventually he told me the waiver code, he just gave me an excuse that it was not working and that he cannot apply. I was like, okay, so now give me my money because I need my money because he could not do the work for me. And I was like, okay, hold on, I have a way. I was like, okay, what is the way? So I gave him some time because I knew him already and I know he's not kind of someone who's going to scam me.
Yeah.
But then it is money, so I need my money back because I took it for my family and then they need accounts for it.
Exactly.
So he told me, okay, I should hold on. He's going to apply to a school for me, but then I should wait. And so I waited. I was hitting on him, how far. So he eventually applied to Trent University, and it was
that is in Ontario.
Ontario, exactly. So it was in Ontario. So he applied to Trent University for me. It was a graduate diploma course, and personally, I didn't like it.
Program.
It was a graduate diploma program in business something, but it was, I think, in relation to HR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he actually got admission for me, and that was the start of my Canada journey. Basically.
Okay. So does it mean after he got admission for you, you didn't apply to any school yourself?
All right, so when he got the admission for me, what happened was, now he was out of the scene because he has done his part of the job. So the remaining was on me to also pursue what I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, this is a cool opportunity for me to try it. And luckily for me, at that time, I had a very good friend of mine in SHS. He's also currently in Ontario. Yeah, he attended Waterloo.
Okay.
So yeah, so I got to know he was in Canada, and I talked to him that, hey buddy, I have had admission to this school, and that I want to now pursue my visa application. I have zero knowledge about it, so I want you to help me. And then he knew how smart I was, so he said, okay, let me guide you instead of me doing it for you. Let me guide you, because he told me afterwards that whenever someone approaches him like that, he tries to charge and he does it for the person. But then he told me he's not going to do that for me because he knows I am very goal oriented, and when he shows me the way, I'm going to go by the way. So that was when he connected me to a WhatsApp page, and the name was Canada Japan. I joined group 2, and that was actually my turnaround event, my turnaround point. So when I got to the page, I now started learning. I was so quiet. It was a learning process because one thing I had for this traveling plan was just as if you are looking for a job, you put in maximum effort to make sure you get a job. If you are called for interview, you prepare adequately for the interview session. I also saw this to be a life-changing opportunity. Let's take it from the fact that you are traveling abroad. It was my dream to pursue masters. So if I have the opportunity to pursue a higher degree, although at that time it was not a master's program, I felt it was something that I need to devote my utmost strength to make it happen. So once I got the admission to Trent University, I also tried applying to other colleges. I did for Fleming because I was kind of clueless. I just wanted to have a lot of options and then I will see what next I can do. So I applied to, I think, Fleming. So I will join their open house and they will give a waiver code. I'll be on Twitter to watch these people who share waiver codes and other things. But the one that really helped me was that page that I joined on WhatsApp because they shared almost every information that I needed to know for my Canadian study permit journey. And I took everything personally. I would read it. Anytime I get a notification from that page, no matter what I'm doing, I have to halt, I have to stop that and get to read what information they have posted over there. And it had a lot of resources and I learned from there. So that was basically the starting part of my journey here.
Okay, okay. So after getting admission for Trent, you just told yourself that you want to go ahead and apply for the visa.
Sure.
So we are now coming to talk about the visa process. Then we'll talk about your journey when you got to Canada. Then we'll now talk about how you managed to maneuver and get into a master's program at the University of Alberta.
All right.
Okay. So after admission, and you mentioned you joined a particular page, Canada Japan, they were posting a lot of information there. What did you do? What steps did you take?
So this traveling thing was a kind of a long-term plan thing that I did for myself. I am very goal oriented, and before I take any decision, I make sure I plan adequately so that I can know my next step. I don't want to get to a point that I will find myself wanting. So after I got the interest in now pursuing the Canadian dream, and now I have admission to Trent University. I had admission to Fleming College. I had admission to University Canada West. I was like, these schools are not offering me masters, but looking at my capacity, I want to do masters. So then, what is a long-term plan? That was what I said to myself. So everything I did about this traveling thing was very tactical. I was very strategic. I didn't take a step before I thought. I think and then I take a step. So what happened was after getting these admissions, I knew I wouldn't go to any of those schools. However, I thought those were stepping stones for me to get into the country, and then I will now look into what I want to do. That was the plan initially. So what
Okay.
I told myself was, all right,
So
so now
let
I
me
have
just
friends.
let me
I have
just
friends.
interject a little bit. Can I come in?
Okay, you can.
So you didn't wait to get a master's admission before applying for your visa.
No,
You were only looking for a way to enter, but then you had a backup plan as well.
exactly.
Okay. So I would say that that was a smart move because immigration is changing day by day. And when you look at the situation currently in Canada, there are a lot of denials as compared to approvals, even though the Canadian government is still issuing visas for whether visit, whether study, spousal open work permits, there are still approvals. But the denial rates are very, very high now. So if you have the opportunity or if you get the opportunity, please make good use of it. Immigration is not static. It changes day by day. What was working yesterday or today might not work in the future. So if you are listening to us now, listen to our brother's advice, as he didn't wait to get a master's admission before applying for his visa. With the graduate diploma program at Trent University, he went ahead to apply for his visa. Let's continue.
All right, thank you very much. So I had Trent, and looking at the deficit of 25,000, it was a 2-year program. Um, and every year it was 25,000 Canadian dollars. So it means for the 2 years I was going to pay 50,000 and even plus based on the adjustments and other things.
Okay.
I realized it was a large sum of money, and I wouldn't want to pay that much for a graduate diploma, although that was my way to enter. But then coming to your point, in as much as I did that, I think policies have changed about the immigration, and now the process of changing your DLI, it's now kind of complicated. I need to update myself, so I don't think it will be something smooth. But then you can still take a try about it. Yeah. So I actually decided to go on with my Trent University.
Okay.
But then before I did that, I also did a lot of research on which school I want to attend. So although I had admission to Trent University, I had admissions to other universities, but then I wanted to use Trent as my way to enter into the country because that was quite stronger than the other opportunities. I was also looking into which other universities will I attend when I get here, because I knew my plan that I was not going to attend Trent. So what was my next alternative? What was my next move? So I had to do a lot of research to find out which schools actually pursue my program of interest, even which province. And that is one thing I think a lot of people who want to come into Canada sometimes lack. All we know in Ghana, basically, that is what I'm thinking. Okay, so Canada is just Ontario, Canada is Toronto. So we don't even look at other provinces. But then someone, for instance, like me, who wants to pursue something in agriculture, you have to look into the prairie regions, which is Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. You have to look into these regions than Ontario. So if you focus your strength and all your resources on schools in Ontario, maybe you might be disappointed. You should target these provinces, and the population, the the requirements, the competition in these provinces are not as hectic as what you find in Ontario. So I got this also for my research that I was doing about Canada. So I wasn't just researching about schools, I was researching about schools, about provinces, and about everything. So I settled on University of Manitoba, University of Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Guelph. Guelph is also in Ontario, but then
Yeah.
they were doing very good in things about agriculture.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
these were my four schools that I shortlisted. But then I gave a chance on University of Alberta here, and I also did for Saskatchewan.
Okay.
So those were my two backup plans. I didn't apply to Manitoba. I didn't apply to Guelph. I only applied to Saskatchewan and Alberta. So I knew the decisions would come later. So I have to work out my visa with the trends. So the contingency plan was that, okay, now I have a bed in hand, which is the trends. Let me quickly apply for the visa. And then if I apply for the visa, and worst case scenario, if I get denied, I was very hopeful I'm going to get one of these two schools. So I would then probably use the admission I'll get from either Saskatchewan or Alberta here to apply for another visa. So that was my contingency plan. But then I gave myself ample time because, in this process, I always have a mantra that it is better to do it right than to do it rushing. Because if you rush it out, you might lose it. And before you realize that you've lost it, you have probably invested a lot of resources into it, and it might go against you. Even the emotional trauma, the psychological thing you might go through after the rejection can be something, you know. So I wanted to take my time. So I applied trends in May, but I even applied for their June. I think they had an entry in June. They had September opened, they had January opened, but I didn't want to force everything out. I just wanted to take it one at a time because, as I said, it's a life changing opportunity that I wanted to embark on. So it demands time. I need to do a lot of research. I need to work it out very well so that I can make it once and for all. So that was my plan. So I applied for the June entry, although I had about a year more to prepare, and that gave me a lot of time to work out my visa requirement things and also take calculated plans for what I want to do when I enter Canada.
Okay. Let's go to the visa process. That is the second stage. What did you do when you noticed that, okay, after admission, the next step was to proceed to apply for my visa? Did you go for an interview, or everything was just done online? If you can take us through the initial steps, the first step you took, then the questions will flow from there. Let's continue.
Right. So the first step is for Canada, you don't need to go for any in-person interview. So everything that you have to talk about, your study abroad thing, anything that you have to say, anything that you want to prove to the visa officer is proved through your documentations. So you don't go for any interview. That is what I know per the time. So what I did was my first step was to gather information because you need information to take a step. So my first step was to gather information. And luckily for me, I was part of this page that I talk about, and they had a lot of resources. So people were sharing their SOPs. So first I got to know which documents do I need to get ready even before my visa stage. So what I realized was I need a statement of purpose to briefly describe why I want to go to Canada. At first, who I am, why the program, why the school, why I want to go to Canada. And then I also will include my home ties. That is because it's a temporary visa that they are giving you. So you have to prove to the visa officer that when you go, you have things in your home country that is tying you that will bring you back to your home country. So those were the basic outlines in the SOP. So I got to learn that. And I also got to learn there's another document that I have to submit, which is the proof of funding, POF. Yeah, so for that also, you are also describing to the visa officer how you are going to fund yourself when you get to Canada with respect to paying your tuition, how you're going to live over there, how you're going to even get your flight and other miscellaneous. So luckily for me, still on the page, I got resources from people who had tried and had gotten it with those documents. So I looked at each of them, I read through thoroughly, I got to know what is expected of me to write in mine. And so I developed a very strong one. To me, it was strong. But then, as a person who was trying to still navigate my way through, I didn't really believe what I did. So on that page, there was a name called Sly Della on the page. I basically didn't know who Sly was. And he was really helping people over there. People were thanking him. I was like, who is this guy? So once I took about a month to even write my statement of purpose. So after writing everything, I sent to him that he should proofread for me. He should go through for me. So he told me he would demand some time before he can. So he actually got back to me and he told me it was perfect. I was like, hey, dude, wait. How can you tell me this is perfect? Because I am a novice. I just wrote this and you're telling me it's perfect. So I wanted him to, punch some holes because I thought I was not adequate. But then he told me everything is perfect and he just gave me some small things to touch on, and which I did. I also sent to my friend in the US and he also did a small proofread on it. And I made sure my SOP was ready. And then with my proof of fund, apparently for trends and for that visa application, I didn't use MPOWER. So I actually used a third party funding. So I used a bank statement
Okay.
from a foster brother.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say, although there was high amount of money, I think it was about 2 million Ghana cedis. That was when I realized people really have money in Ghana. There were about 2 million Ghana cedis in the account. And for some accounts, you can make a transaction of 1 million and maybe some visa officers might flag it because it's a huge amount of money. They can actually call it dumping.
Yeah.
But this guy makes 1 million from his account, like normal 10 cities transaction, and so I took this, but I don't think the amount of money was so much of something that gave me the nod. I think the additional documents that I added to prove, because as I said earlier, for Canada you don't need to go for an interview. Whatever you need to do, you have to prove through your documents. So what I did was I had to prove to the visa officer enough that yes, this person, one, is a foster brother, two, this person has this money by virtue of his businesses that he runs in Ghana, by virtue of his deposits, maybe having receipts of his deposit, by virtue of his tax that he pays. So those were enough proofs to show the visa officer that his money was kind of legit his money was something not dumping or something that we did just as a way to get the visa, but it was something that it was really useful in my study. And I also told the visa officer that
So
he was actually the one.
a quick question concerning the bank statement.
Okay.
How many months statement did you? Was it like 2 months? Was it 4 months? Was it 5 months? Was it 6 months? And also, was it up to date when you were using it, or it was like 1 or 2 months old? If you can clarify that.
Generally, I think Canada has a policy of 3 to 5, if I'm not wrong. But the bank statement that I got was it spanned for 4 months. Yeah, I think it was for 4 months, and it was not an old bank statement. It was fresh. So I actually made my my visa application in December, and then the bank statement had an ending date of 30th November, I think. Yeah. So it was kind of fresh. While I did my application on the 7th or 8th of December. So
Okay.
it was a
So,
fresh bank statement.
okay.
And it had 4 months statement. Yeah, it was 4 month statement.
Okay. So if you are watching my screen now, I'm sharing a screen that is to all our listeners and our viewers out there. I'm coming. Let me just share my screen. So as you can see, I've shared my screen and it says what we accept as proof of funds. You must provide at least one of the following. One, proof that you paid your tuition and housing. For multiple year programs, you must prove you paid your first year's tuition. Two, prove that you are capable to pay living expenses and transportation costs. So you can use proof of Canadian bank account in your name if you have transferred the money to Canada. You can use what we call a GIC, that is a guaranteed investment certificate, but that applies to only some countries, of which Ghana is not part of the GIC process. A proof of a student or education loan from the bank. So that is where MPOWER educational loan comes in, or MPOWER financing comes in. Your bank statement or your sponsor's bank statement for the past 4 months. And please, even though it is on their website that for the past 4 months, it is advisable to use more than four, either 5 months or 6 months, because there have been cases where people used 4 months and they got their visa denied. When the GCMS notes came, they said the 4 months wasn't enough for them to assess the financial standing of the person. So it's advisable to get 5 or 6 months. We are not saying if you use 4 months, your visa will be denied, but it's advisable to use 5 or 6 months. You can also use a bank draft that can be converted to Canadian dollars, then a letter from the person or school giving you the money, proof of funding paid from within Canada. If you have a scholarship or are in a Canadian funded educational program, you provide that proof. So all provinces except Quebec, the living expenses currently for one person is 20,635, as you can see on my screen here. So if you're coming with family, so if it's you and another family member, let's say you and a spouse, 25,690. If it's, let's say, you, your spouse, and your child, 31,583, and like that. So as you can see, they've given for the number of people here. But from September 1st, 2025, they are increasing this living expenses amount for 1 year. They are increasing it to this. So first it was 20,635, but from September 1st, one person need to be 22,895, and like that. There has been some little increment, but it will only apply from September onwards. So let's take note of that. So that is just your living expenses before you come and add what we call your first year tuition, your flight ticket, and your miscellaneous. And this information is on the Canadian government website. Just go and type canada.ca. You'll find everything there. Akwesi, let's continue.
Thank you very much for this educative information that you've provided. I think I also need to update myself because it's been a while. When I was applying, I think the living expense was 10,000
Yes,
Canadian
yes,
dollars.
yes.
Yeah, but eventually it got to 20,000, and now it's going to 22,000. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So basically, I want to talk about the exact documents or the exact content that I had in my SOP and my POF.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's
since you were talking about a proof of funds, I'll be glad if you can mention like all documents you used for your proof of funds. Then we
Okay.
come to the letter of explanation side or the statement of purpose side.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, talking about the proof of fund first, what you need to know is that you have to calculate or know the amount, your deficit. So your deficit, as I said earlier, is your tuition fee for your first year, and then your the living expense based on what you get on the the Canada.ca website, and then you have to make provision for miscellaneous and also your flight in and out, because it is a temporary visa that they are giving you. And even in your letter of explanation, I'm going to talk about the fact that when you go, you come back to your home country, and so you have to budget for your flight in and out for your proof of fund calculation. So once you make that calculation, then you know the exact amount of money you have to have in your bank account. So now going to the documents I use for my proof of fund, because I use a third party proof of fund, I had to first get his national identity card. So in my case, I got his Ghana card.
Okay.
And then because it was a business account, I had to get his business registration certificate. And I think Form A, that is the name they call it.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, Form A.
And
So
I
I
think
got those.
some for other businesses are called Form C, either the Form A or the Form C.
Okay. So I got I got the Form A, and also I got his tax returns. Yeah. And that
Okay.
was also very recent to show that he is a law-abiding business person and that he was paying his tax. And then I also had pictures that I took with him, yeah, to show that he was actually a foster brother. So
Okay. So
those were the documents
was
that
it
I
one picture or like different pictures at different locations? If you can clarify that.
I actually took a picture with him at one location, but then they were two pictures. But then, if you have an opportunity to take pictures with different backgrounds or on different dates, I think it is. He was a very busy business person, so it was even hard to get in touch with him. But I eventually got in touch with him, and I took the picture with him. And it was not kind of a plan, because we took the picture at a pharmacy shop, so you
Okay.
could know how real it was. Yeah. It wasn't that we had to wear suit and tie to take a picture just for the camera or just for the application. So it was a very friendly picture that we took. So those were the documents I used. And one surprising thing that I did, Sly, I want to talk about it. So when I was applying on my letter of acceptance, no, admission letter from Trent University,
Okay.
they didn't write anything that I have to make a tuition deposit.
Okay.
However, it was on the school's website that I have to make that deposit of 2,500 Canadian dollars.
Okay.
So I just took chances, because at that time I didn't have that amount of money to pay, and I thought it would be a bad business if a school that I don't want to really attend, I make this investment and then I don't get a visa. What will be made of me? So I was like, no, let me take risk, because in this application, I am only submitting the letter the school gave me, and on that letter, there is nothing of that sort that you are required to pay this amount of money. And before that, I also got in touch with people who had admission with the same school, and had paid their tuition deposits. So all of this bounce back to the fact that you need information. So, and you have to be strategic, because all of this I didn't just sit to brainstorm and do it. I had plans, and I made sure I lived up to the plan. So I got in touch with people also on the same WhatsApp platform, and I talked to them. I was like, "Hey, you also got admission to Trent University. So have you paid your tuition deposit?" They were like, "Yeah, they paid the amount of money." I was like, "Did they issue you a new letter of acceptance or a new admission letter?" They said no. So how did you apply for a visa? They said they use the same letter of admission that they gave me. I was like, "Ooh, then there's a way here."
Okay. So just to clarify, if you try that now, it's not going to work for you.
Definitely, definitely.
Because you need what we call a provincial or territorial attestation letter.
Mm-hmm,
And the school is going to issue that if only you pay the deposit. So if you try
mm-hmm.
that method now, it's not going to work for you. So if you
Very
apply,
well.
please just take that out of your mind, because that method is not going to work. First, you didn't require, you wouldn't need what we call a provincial attestation letter. There were no caps. Everyone can apply once you have the admission letter. But now, because of the PAL and the TAL requirements, if you don't pay the deposit, the school is not going to issue you with a PAL. And you can proceed to put in an application without the attestation letter. So let's take a note of that. Continue, Akwesi.
All right, so I think I should chip this in. Let me put this in that even though it sounds like during when I was applying, it was kind of lenient. Trust me, immigration policies are going to be stringent as the years go by. So now that you are seeing that Canada is looking for provincial attestation letters and other things, and you have to make tuition deposits, trust me, if you don't shoot your shots now, thinking that it's going to be free a bit, maybe unless another pandemic comes, that is when they are going to probably losing the immigration policies. It's going to be stringent. Now they are requiring this amount of money. Maybe who knows next? The next one they will tell you you have to pay your full tuition before they. So please, you have to shoot your shot now. Don't wait and say it's now hard and I have to slack and I have to do this. Once there's a way, once there is a will, there is a way. So shoot your shots now. Don't think it is difficult, because it will be more difficult as the years go by. Yeah, so that was it for me. And so with those information, knowing very well that there isn't any new, and for those times, if for other schools, if you pay your tuition deposit, they will give you a new admission letter. Yeah, but for Trent, it wasn't like that. So I found that loop and I was like, oh, let me hit there. So I just hit on it, and I didn't pay any tuition deposit. So I just applied straight, because I also had a contingency plan. So okay. I want to make a point over here that whatever you do, you have to plan for it. Because I knew even if Trent University slacks, I'm going to use my application that I will do with Saskatchewan and Alberta to apply for my visa, which I was very hopeful, because I put in a very strong application for those schools. So I was very hopeful I would get either of them. Worst case scenario, the admission portal was still open for other schools that I could even apply to more schools if I wanted. Yeah, so that was the plan. So then I just put in the application using those documents for the proof of fund.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. If you're watching us live now, we have over 70 people watching us, and we are still just in the middle of the discussion. I'm encouraging you to share the link, encourage someone to join. Who knows? Akwesi's story might change someone's destiny, might change someone's plan. So kindly share the link, and don't forget to hit on the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. So regarding your proof of funds, after getting these documents, did you just like put everything together in just a PDF and upload? Like, how did you go about it? Did you explain? Did you write any explanations? If you can touch on that aspect as well.
Okay, so the mere fact that you have these documents don't prove anything. You can have data, but then if you don't arrange the data, it will not be able to communicate what you want to do. So I have a picture with, in quote, a random person. Like to the visa officer, you will see a picture. If I just upload a picture, it will be a random person. If I put a bank statement, which is not in my name, it's just a random bank statement. If I put whatever, it's just random documents. So in my proof of fund document, first I established the relationship between myself and my foster brother. That is the first thing I did. So I established the relationship, how he became my foster brother, and I even had to back with evidence. So in that case, I forgot one other document. I used birth set to show that. And as I said earlier, for Canada, you don't need to go for interviews. So whatever you are saying, you have to prove with documentations, right? So that's basically what I did. So I had to use birth certificates to prove our relationship with my brother. That was the first thing I did. And after establishing the relationship, I now had to prove his source of income. So that was where I used the business registration certificate. I used the Form A, and I also used his tax returns. And I also had to establish why he wants to pay this amount of money. Because although he might be a brother, he might be a friend, he might be an uncle, what stake does he have in your life that he wants to invest this amount of money in your education? So I had to also prove that that I did this with him and he promised this and he vowed that he's going to do this for me. So I had to prove it based on whatever story you want to put in your proof of fund statement to show the visa officer, make it convincing. Sometimes you have to put yourself in the shoes of the visa officer so that if someone is sending me this information, if someone is sending me this thing that Sly wants to fund my education and that he's my uncle and I am reading this document, is it enough evidence to show that yes, he has actually vowed, he has actually promised that he's going to invest this amount of money in you for your education? So I had to establish all of this, and then I now uploaded the bank statements. So that was basically what I did for the proof of fund documents.
Okay, okay. So let's come to the letter of explanation you wrote, which you mostly upload at the optional documents side. How did you go about it? What documents did you include to convince the visa officer that truly you are a genuine student, you are coming to study, and after you are done with school, you go back to your home country?
All right. So the SOP was, I think, the documents that I spent a lot of hours to write, not just hours, I mean a lot of days to write, because it should be very strong. You are describing everything about this journey that you want to embark on. So first, in my SOP, I introduce myself that I
Um,
am this
let me just
person.
let me just clarify this. So when he mentions SOP, we are not talking about the one we use for school applications. We are talking about the visa application in this process. In Canada, you need to write what we call a letter of explanation or what we call a study plan. Some people also refer to that as statement of purpose for visa application. So when he's using SOP, he's talking about the letter of explanation he wrote for his visa application. Let's continue.
I think not to confuse our listeners and our viewers, I have to start using the letter of explanation to
Yeah.
to make it uniform. All right. So in my letter of explanation, the first thing I did was I had to introduce myself. This is my name. This is my passport number, and then just a brief introduction of who I am. And then the next session was to talk about my academic journey. So what I actually did in my undergrad, why I even chose that program. So I started from my SHS to make sure it was a build up. You know, it is a story that you are writing. Don't just see it to be a normal document that you are writing. See it to be a story about your life, because you are telling the visa officer or you are telling your reader that you are not ending up here by chance or by fluke, but you have a long-term plan as to what you want to do, which is why you are applying, which is why you want to study in Canada. So I started that build up from my SHS, and then I now moved into my university degree, what I did for my undergrad, and so I talked about it, and now I made sure I linked it to the program I want to pursue at Trent University at the time. So that was basically what I talked about on my on my academic background, and then I moved to my professional background where I talked about my work. So one thing I realized in Canada was, you know, when you those times that when you're applying for a visa, let's say you you read an engineering program in your undergrad, and you are applying to maybe a program in health, you have to establish a linkage between engineering and health, which is why you are coming to pursue that program. Because it will sound absurd to for someone who is an engineering person to now just move into the medical school without any form of explanation or why the person wants to do that. So for me, because I did agribusiness, I had a little business attached to the agri. So
Okay.
it gave me, and also my work in Ghana also was kind of in line to this business thing I was going to do at Trent. So linking why I was going to do that program, I made sure the emphasis was on my professional background, my professional experience, more than my academic experience.
Nice.
Although I wrote in my statement in my letter of explanation that during my undergrad I established a business, and that business was something that led me to have this business mindset. I wrote a lot of things over there. Yeah, I wrote a lot of things in there. So I wanted just a way to create a linkage between the program I want to do and who I am presently. So who you are made up of your academic background, you are made up of your professional background. So you have to link those two things to what you want to pursue or your dream. So the emphasis was on my professional background because it was closely related to what I want to do, right? So
Yeah.
that is to put across that you can do engineering in your undergrad, but then you can move into the medical school here in Canada. Once you can establish the facts, maybe you might have a professional background in the medical aspect, in the medical field. So you can now convince the visa officer that you want to come here and maybe move into the health field because you are in Ghana, maybe you are doing something related to medical things. Yeah. So that was just by the way. So I had to prove that also. So I talked about my academic background. I talked about my professional background, and then I talked about why that program and why that school.
Okay.
So what I seek to achieve after the program, and why that school, and even why Canada. And then I moved to the last part, which was the very extensive part, which is the home ties. So for study permit or for that visa, it is for study visa, it is a temporary visa.
Yeah.
So what that means is that after your stay, it is required that you come back to your home country after your study. So you
Unless,
have
of
to.
course, you want to apply for your postgraduate work permit and gain some Canadian experience before coming home.
Mhm. But probably when you're applying for the visa at that time, I don't think you should put in there that you want to after school you want to get your PGWP
Exactly.
in the country. You have to tell the visa after that. Oh, right after school, I'm coming back to my home country, and of course you come back to your home country because we all will. So
Yeah.
so that part is actually the game changer, and you have to talk extensively over there. So there are exhaustive list of the things you can put in there. So in my situation, I will talk about my situation and I will now make a generic statement about it. So in
Okay.
my situation, I I was not married. I'm still not married. So I used my nuclear family, my mother, my father, my siblings, as a way that I am tied to my home country because I'm tied to my family. So
Okay.
I told them that my father at that time was on pension. So I was the guy who is now coming to help the house, help my family, and I have a very strong bond with them. So over here, they don't think like how Ghanaians we think in quote, like I mean. So when you talk about, in Ghana, I don't really know, but per what I know, we don't really put much emphasis on reuniting with your family. But over here is something that they do.
Yeah.
They even have a holiday for that in October. Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is for family things. So they are very heavy on family. So that was my first home tie thing that I used. So I tied myself to my family here in Ghana. So basically, no matter your situation, you can have something. If maybe sorry to say, maybe if you have lost a parent, you can say that because my dad is no more, I am the only working maybe person who is there to help my siblings and also be a comforter for my mom. Because my mom is sick, I am the one to take care of her. You can use either of them, right? Yeah. And also with the same family, if you are married, you can also use your new family, which is your spouse, as also one way to tie yourself to your home country. So now I've talked about using your family, which is your nuclear family. I mean, with your mother, your father, if you are not married. If you are
Did
married,
you
you can also use your.
did you add any evidence like to show that you truly had a family in Ghana?
Oh, yes, I did. So what I did is okay, so let me go back. So with everything that you say in your application, you have to prove with evidence. So what I did for my family was I had all their Ghana cards.
Okay.
So I uploaded all their Ghana cards as part of my documents, and we also had a family picture that we took. So it was not an old picture, but we made it. Like we planned to take it, and we made sure it was not so professional. So it was kind of we were sitting in the hall and we just took a random picture like families we watching TV together. And when you take a picture and you upload it, it wouldn't state when you actually took the picture. So that was a way we. So that was how I proved to the visa officer that I am actually tied to my family. So I had all my family members together, and then I also used the Ghana cards for that.
Okay.
And the next thing I did for mine was I had a business in Ghana, and
Okay.
it was registered. So I used my business registration certificate. I used the form A also, but then I didn't have any tax return by then, so I didn't add any tax return as I did for the proof of fund documents.
Okay.
And I also had pictures of myself at my shop. So I took those pictures and I added those as evidence that I own a business. And I just didn't talk about the fact that I have a business. I talked about the fact that this was even why I started the business and what I'm going to do in my absence, or how the business is going to run in my absence. Because I'm not just going to tell them I own a phone shop. It's nothing. You
Yeah.
can sell your phone shop or you can just abandon your phone shop. But then I had plans where I had to tell them how the business is going to run. So I mentioned that since my father is now on pension, I have a shop attendant who is actually overseeing my shop for me. And since my dad is now on pension, he will go there periodically to check these accounts and to check the day-to-day running of my business, and he will send me the reports. And the business will be run based on the profit that we get from the business. So that was what I did. But I think at that point, what I realized was, well, sometimes when you do a document, you cannot be perfect. What I realized was I was adding a business that I have a business, but then I was not even adding any account in my name. So how would that resonate to the results? But well, I wasn't just perfect, but that was what I did. So the next home tie I did was in Ghana. I was the the president for the youth group in my church. I was at I'm a Presbyterian, and
Okay.
during that time I was the president for the Bethel Congregation Presbyterian Church at Foster Home in Adenta.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was the president, and I have always had this dream to give out to the society to help people. So when I became the president, I led the team to I led the guild, the team to embark on a donation journey at
Drive.
Dodowa.
Okay.
So, and I took pictures. So, I have those pictures also. So, I added those pictures as part of me being the president. And we also had the handing over picture that we took with our whatever on our neck. So, yeah, so that picture I added that. And in church, I was also working with the finance committee of the church, so I added that. And lastly, I think I got a recommendation. Yeah, I got a recommendation from the church because of my activities over there. So I talked to the pastor about this move, and he gave me a recommendation. So the church also gave me a recommendation, yeah, to support my work at the church. I didn't have a pet, but then if you have a pet over here, they actually cherish pets. So if you have a pet, you can put your pet. You can have a picture with your pet, because I wrote a letter of explanation for a friend, and he included that he actually got the slot to come to Canada here. He's currently in Canada, yeah, and he used his pet. He had pictures with his dog, and I used that for his because he didn't have any checked activity or whatsoever. Yeah, so I use that. And the other thing I used for my SOP was the work I was doing. So I added my I didn't add any pay stats, but I added my employment letter, of employment letter,
Okay.
and then I added a picture of myself at work. Yeah, which was in uniform, so you could see that yes, this is the work environment that I was. Yeah, so I added that, and I also got um there was this letter I got for my leave letter. Yeah, I think I got a leave letter for my work. Yeah, for my workplace, showing that they know about this traveling, and that because I said earlier that this traveling that I'm traveling, I am getting here to come back to pick a higher role at my workplace. So that was what I said in my statement of purpose, which of course is true. So
We all know it's true.
yeah, it is true actually. So what happened was I also added the leave letter. Yeah, I also added the leave letter as part of the evidence. So for my workplace, I added the leave letter, and I also added the offer of employment. I didn't add any paycheck or whatsoever to that. Yeah, because I didn't have it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was basically what I did. And I think I added, did I add my Snit account? No, I didn't add my Snit account. No, I didn't add my Snit account. Yeah. But then as I said earlier, the list is exhaustive. You can if you are part of any NGO, you can, because over here they really cherish this volunteering thing. They really cherish it. There can be even scholarship for volunteers, someone who has had volunteering experiences. If you come to these schools, there are some scholarship mainly for people who have these volunteering things. So if you are part of any NGO, I think there was one, CJ. Yeah, CJ had an NGO like that. Yeah, maybe Sly will talk about that later. So but then at that point I hadn't joined any of their donation spree, so I didn't use that. But if you are part of any NGO, or if you have done any communal labor, if you are even a singer at church, these are responsibilities you can put on your letter of explanation to show that you are committed to your country, to show that you are committed to your jurisdiction, you are committed to a role you are playing in Ghana, and that serves as a way to tie you. Other thing you can talk about, and it is very, very important, is that you can talk about an asset you have. For assets and everything that you say in your letter of explanation, as I said earlier, depends on how you're going to explain it. As the name implies, letter of explanation. So you have to explain it to the visa officer. So you can use any asset, and by virtue of saying by saying asset, I mean it can be a car, it can be a house, it can be a piece of land, anything. And in that regard, you have to explain to the visa officer how you got that, because sometimes they are in our country, they know how the economy of Ghana is. So it's kind of sometimes look absurd for someone in, I'm not saying it cannot happen, but someone in, let's say, at the age of 22 to just tell the visa officer that he bought a piece of land. So sometimes when you are writing your story, you can make your story be like, it was something that maybe you stayed with your grandparents and you helped your grandparents a lot and they loved you so much, and so they gave you this piece of land that they had, because they know that in Ghana we really thrive on these um, family lands, these village lands and other things. So you can mention the fact that it was a gift, and everything that you say, as I said earlier, you have to back with evidence. So if you are talking about the fact that it was a gift that was given to you, you have to prove with a gift deed. If you are talking about the fact that you have an asset, maybe you can use an assets declaration form. I think they have it. Yeah. When you are talking about the fact that maybe you bought it and you have the actual documents, you can also put in the actual document to show that yes, you own the piece of land. So I think those are the things that I think. But generally, anything that you might think that it will be of essence or of importance, that it is tying you to your home country, please include it. And whatever you say, make sure it is following a story. It is a story that they are telling us. They are not just giving us bulletin points. If you have a business, if I have a laptop, how did I get a laptop? What is the essence of the laptop? Why am I even including the laptop in my in my letter of explanation? So you have to talk about all of these to make your story spicy and to make it catchy. So that is basically what I did for my. And I also made the last part was the last paragraph of my letter of explanation was it, would I say an oath? No, oath will sound a very powerful word, but it was a vow, kind of, not a vow, maybe a promise that I made on the last paragraph that yeah, I'm a law-abiding person here, and that if I wouldn't want to come to Canada and flout any of their rules or their regulation. I wouldn't want to come to Canada to break any law. So I am making this promise that after my study, I will come back to my home country. So that was basically what I wrote for my statement of I mean my letter of explanation.
Okay, just hold on. I think I found your statement of purpose
Oh, I
for
shared
the
it.
visa. So let me just project it so that our listeners and viewers can have a brief idea of what you are actually talking about. Let
That
me
is a
write.
very good research, actually.
Yeah, you know, I'm always good at keeping things.
Very good.
So one day, if you need it, you would have to come and pay me so that I'll give it back to you.
I will need it, please.
Just trying to look for this thing. Hold on. Okay, good. I found it. So let me just show my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So
Boom. That was it.
this is for your home ties.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, as you mentioned, I have strong home ties in my home country. Below are a few salient point home ties I want to highlight. So evidence of family relationship, you explained. Evidence of employment. Let me continue. Then evidence of business, which spoke about evidence of my responsibility at church, you spoke about, and the conclusion, as you mentioned earlier. Then your name here, the documents you included too. We'll talk about that too. But what he was explaining, this is just a brief idea of how a statement of purpose for a study visa looks like. You first of all introduce, you talk about your education, and your professional background. Then you talk about why you have settled on Canada, because Ghana, your country, or whatever country you are in, has similar programs in your home country, which are even cheaper. But why have you settled on Canada? You have to convince the visa officer. Then the program was Human Resources Marketing and Entrepreneurship at Trent University. So why he settled on this particular program, that's what he has explained here. Then his career objective, like after he's done with the program, what is the program going to do for him? What are his plans? Also, he also added after postgraduate studies, his plans as well. So basically, this is what we call a statement of purpose or letter of explanation for a study visa application. Um, yeah, so as we continue, I'll share as and when we get there. So, Agosi, you can continue.
Okay, so I think I was at the ending part of it. So yeah, so I thank you for pulling that document, and I'm just here smiling to the document I wrote, and it's about investing time and energy, and knowing that this is a life changing opportunity that you want to embark on, because when you get to travel abroad, not saying it's better than anywhere, but then your chances of probably making it, to me, increases because of the system they have created over here. So when you want to embark on such a journey, you have to devote your time, because as much as you might think these are very small things that I just wrote, I did a lot of research before I came up with this, although it was my story. And this thing just flashed in my mind, and I think I have to put it in. Maybe I will say it maybe subsequently. Now there is the existence of AIs, and so I will plead with you that such institutions like the IRCC would probably, I don't really know, but will probably be using these AI detectors and other things. So at best, try to make it your story. It is your story that they are telling us. So make sure you don't depend on AI to write some of these things. You can have Grammarly, and then you write your story and you tell Grammarly to put it in a right grammar for you. But depending on the AI for this will be something, not so fun that you'd want to do.
I've been able to pull your proof of funds as
Oh
well.
my goodness.
I've been able
Like you
to.
have all of these. Wow.
I'm still keeping this document. You sent it to me to review for you. I remember very
Oh
well.
yeah.
I'm still keeping them. So anytime you need
Wow.
them, you can just reach out. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not that kind of person that will throw your document away.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds
So
good.
as you were explaining, I think you can just touch on the proof of funds again. It's on the screen. So I think you can also see it, right?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
Yes.
so as I talked about it, so you have to talk about your expenses. That is your deficit. So I said is the tuition for your first year. So in my case at Trent, it was 25,000 Canadian dollars, and then the living expense at that time was 10,000 Canadian dollars. Now it is 20,000 plus with some few, yeah. And as Lai showed us in September, it's going to go to 22,000. Yeah, so you include that, and then the flight in and out is very important. Don't take the out of the game, because you are being given a temporary visa, and the purpose of it is that after your study you have to come back to your home country, so you have to budget for the flight that they are going to use when you are coming back to your home country, and then you add the miscellaneous of around. So that was the miscellaneous I added, and so my deficit was 40,000, and then this was the amount of money as at the time I printed my bank statement. But trust me, I don't think, and I am saying this with evidence, that it's not about how much I had in the bank statement, because I know people who had such a huge gap. Because when you look at this gap, it's very huge. But then I had people who adequately had money to fund their expenses, yet they were denied. And when you read their GCMS notes, it was probably some of them based on funding. It's not because of the amount of money you have in your in your account, but it's about how you establish the relationship between one yourself and who is sponsoring you. In that case, when you are using a third party funding. So over here, I think I talked about the fact that so I was a very brilliant student in SHS. I was on the government scholarship, and so I made mention that my foster brother at that time felt very good because he wasn't good academically, and so because I was excelling, he decided to invest whatever he
So
won.
you can feel free and read it out if you want.
Yeah. So no, once I see it, I can just remember everything that I said. So yes, because I mentioned my SHS, I even added my SHS transcripts. Yeah, I think I had it. Yeah, to show my performance because, as I said, whatever you say, you have to show it. And I think I also added the scholarship. Yeah, I added the scholarship letter when I had it. Yeah, so I also had a scholarship over there. So that was how I established the fact that he will invest in my education because he didn't actually make it, and then he wants to invest in me to make it. And then I think the next bullet talked about the business he was doing. He was a forest trader and he had other businesses in agriculture, so I talked about it. And then I made mention of my relationship with him, over there. And then I also made provision. I'm very happy you have highlighted that part slide. I think I have to talk about that. So I also made provision on how I'm going to pay my second year tuition, because the reason I did this was because in calculating the deficit, you only add your first year tuition. However, your program spans for 2 years in my context. So what happens is that you have to show proof that you'll be able to pay your second year tuition, although it is not a requirement for you to calculate your deficit. However, you have to show to the visa officer how you are going to manage to pay your second year. So I think that was what the that highlighted paragraph that slide showing on the screen talked about. Yeah. So in this context, I mentioned the fact that it was a study leave, which was a paid leave actually. I think so. It was a paid leave by then, and I also from my business in Ghana, and my brother also still sponsored me for the program. So that's basically what I talked about.
So
And these are the documents I added.
Yeah, you can mention them if you want to.
Okay, yeah. So one important thing that I think I left out is the affidavit of support. So when you are using a third party sponsorship, you have to use an affidavit of support, because yes, the person can have a sponsorship letter to show the visa officer that he has agreed to sponsor you. However, you have to make it binding by adding something which is legally approved, and that is the affidavit of support over here in my context. So in as much as he has told me that he's going to cater for my education through the letter of sponsorship, it has to be backed by law.
I think you even added it because number 8, I can see affidavit of support.
Exactly, that is what I saw, and I remembered it. Yeah. So it is very important. It is very important when you are using a third party document, a third party funding. You have to back it by law that yes, I have decided to take care of your education. However, I am backing my claim with with the law of the country. So in that case, it wouldn't be a mere mouth words, but it is based on something which is backed by the law. So these are the documents I added to my proof of fund documents.
Okay. So if you are still watching us now, I am live with my brother Kwesi, who is currently at the University of Alberta studying a master's in agric and resource economics. Please, the discussion is still ongoing. Don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and also share the link. Like, invite people to join us. There is a lot of information, which when given to you, you wouldn't even need any agent to do your application. You can just sit down, rewatch this video, take your time, and do your own application. If you want to use an agent too, you just ensure you use someone who is trustworthy, someone who wouldn't take your money, and at the end of the day, will be giving you stories. Akwesi, let's continue. So, how did you put all these documents together? Because sometimes people do wonder, but how will I add the document? How will I make them? How do I upload? If you can clarify.
All right, thank you very much. So all of these attachments were in picture form, that is JPEG form. So what I did was, after writing my whatever I needed to write in the Word document, I inserted them as pictures into the document. And after doing that, because I am adding a lot of things, it's going to, I mean, have a very huge size. But then on the IRCC portal, you have, I think, 2 megabytes or 4 megabytes at that time. Yeah. So what you have to do is, after doing all these documentations, you realize you have your the size of your document to be somewhere 20 megabytes, 25 megabytes. So what you have to do is you have to compress it with some compressing tools. Yeah, so Sly is now showing one on the screen. I love PDF. There's another one called PDF 24. There are a lot of them, small PDF and a whole lot. And all of these, I got in touch with all of these on this WhatsApp page. So I think this my study abroad journey was really inspired by the information I got on the WhatsApp page, because traveling abroad is something someone has done, and if someone has already taken a step, it is very easy for you to walk in that path. So I decided to learn everything on the platform, because there were people who had been successful in this journey and they use all of this. So I made sure I also compressed my documents to the required size. And after compressing, that is not all. You have to go back to you have to open the file again and read everything, because once you compress it, it's going to reduce the quality, especially for the attachments you have added. So you have to go back to your documents and look at them to make sure that yes, they are really legible to read to the sites. Because I read a GCMS note that said that the bank statement that the person added was not clear enough for the visa officer to read, and hence they rejected the person. So you have to go back to read the document to make sure that the document that you attached, the thing that it was clear to you before compressing, after compressing, is still clear, that you can stand about some meters back and still be able to read. I don't know the screen the visa officers use, but just put yourself that they are using these normal laptops. Would they be able to see it? So that is what you have to do. So basically, you compress it and then you try to read it again to see that all the attached documents are readable. And that is exactly what I did.
Okay. So, which of the portal did you use for your application? Did you use the old portal, which is the GC key, or you use the new portal, which is the RC portal?
I use the GC Keys portal.
Okay. So, just to put it out here, you can't even use the new portal for study permit application currently. Right now, they've taken off study permit from the new portal. So, when you want to apply for a study permit or a study visa, you have to use the GC key, which is the old portal. And there is a video on my channel recorded taking you through the process of how to create an account, how to upload documents, how to fill documents for your student visa application. Just look out for that video. And when you want to do your application, watch the video, follow the steps, take your time, and just get everything right. Okay. Did you do your medicals before submitting your application, or you had to wait for them to request for your medicals before you went for the medicals? If you can clarify that.
I did an upfront medical because of the recommendation I got on the platform about people talking about how easy it is to do upfront medical, and the their response, the acceptance rate, or yeah, I mean the acceptance rate was really high when you do upfront medical. So although I had to pay for it because it was chances. Some people were of the view that, what if you do it and you get denied? What happens? It means you have wasted that money. But I took the chance to do my upfront medical. I did it at IOM, and at that time it was only in Accra. I heard now they have a branch in Kumasi, which of course I don't really know.
Yeah. I think they said they have a branch in Kumasi now.
Yeah, so I did at IOM. At that time it was 900 and
I think
close to 1,000. Yeah,
yeah.
close to 1,000 Ghana cedis. There was another one, Akai House, and Akai House was around 1,200 plus Ghana cedis. Yeah, and which is why I chose the IOM. I did mine at IOM, and it was an upfront medicals.
Okay. why didn't you like wait for them to request for your medicals, but you just went ahead to do an upfront medicals? Because there is this belief from people that when they go in for the medicals, oh, and they review the application, it's an automatic denial for them since they've done the medicals already. If you can clarify that.
All right, there was a path that I have not applied before. So whatever decision I want to make, I have to make based on the information I gather. And the information I gathered about this upfront medicals or wait till you get the medical notice was that once you do the upfront medicals, there was no empirical data to back it. But then based on people's perception, they had a view that when you do the upfront medicals, it increases your chance of, I mean, getting your visa. So I just took the chances to do it instead of me waiting. And I think it actually saves time because you just do it and you know that you have covered everything in relation to your application. So you are only waiting for the response rather than sending the application and then waiting for them, and you'll be alerted that you have information from IR, you have email from IRCC. Then you go and check and you see that you have medicals, and now you have to go and do it the medicals and now wait for the response. I didn't want that. I wanted only one response from them. Either I have the visa or I don't have the visa. So I just decided to do the upfront medicals and just go my way.
Okay. So after you applied, how much did you pay for the application fee?
235 Canadian dollars. Yeah, I think so. I think they were divided into the biometric and also, but I think the sum of it was around 235 card. Yeah, I think if I'm not wrong. So that
Okay.
was basically what I paid for the visa, with the
Okay.
visa application.
Okay. So in all, your school application process for the Trent University and your visa application process, how much funds did you spend for your Canada student visa? If you can quantify for us.
It is amazing. It is amazing you have asked this question because anytime I tell people the amount of money I spent on this, they are like, ah, really? And I told them, yes, you can spend this less if you invest in information, because it was a step that I was taking that was based on information, and so I know what I am looking for. I know where to get it. I didn't need to pay anybody to do it for me. And once you know what you are doing, you can pay less. So for the school application for Trent, since I said the guy did for me, he took me 600 CDs. But I know maybe if you're applying to a normal Canadian school, it will be averagely somewhere around 100 to 120 Canadian dollars, which will be relatively higher than the 600 I paid. Um, the visa application fee, which was around 235 Canadian dollars, and at that time, I think, let's say even it was $10, 10 CDs to one card, it was around 2,000. I think it was less. So let's say it was 2,000 Ghana cedis. But in general, I think I spent not up to 8,000 Canadian dollars. No, I mean 8,000 Ghana cedis. I don't think I spent up to 8,000 Ghana cedis. I don't think so.
Okay.
Because the other document that I needed for the affidavit of support is around just 200 CDs. For all the recommendations, they were free. The medicals was, let's say, even 1,000 Ghana cedis added to the visa application, which is, let's say, 2,000 Ghana cedis. That's just 3,000 Ghana cedis. Yeah, basically, I spent really less for these documents, like the whole process.
Okay. Because there are people that are saying you need like tons of money before you can travel. That
It
is
is not true.
saying
It
just
is not true. I can challenge anybody listening to me that the person can tell me his situation, and I can break down everything for the person, and the person will realize that probably he's going to spend less than what he is thinking. It's all about information.
okay. So I only think the little changes now is because of the PAL issue, you will need to submit how do we call it? The PAL for your application. So most of the schools will say, oh, pay a tuition deposit before I issue the PAL to you. Aside that, I think nothing major has changed, if I am right. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And even for the PAL, it's been a while I updated myself with this. Um, does it include masters?
Not all schools take a deposit for master's program, but there are some schools that take a deposit. For example, University of Guelph, like this in Ontario, first there was no tuition deposit for master's program, but now I think it's somewhere either 1,005 or 1,000 deficit. Sorry, deposit. But I think even that money is refundable in case your visa is denied.
And then it sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
refundable in case your visa is denied. Okay, so how long did it take you, right from your application process through to ensuring that your visa was approved? How long did it take you?
So I put in my application on 8th December 2023, and then I did my biometrics on 22nd December 2023, and then I got approved on 20th January 2024. So it was a span of a month.
Okay, so let's take note of that. Canada study permit application process, though you will see estimated number of weeks there, that maybe 11 weeks or accuracy. You are the guest, so let me just give you the opportunity to explain. Explain that. So the processing time. Okay, let's use your situation. When you were submitting your application, how many weeks was stated on the website for the processing time, if you can remember?
I think it was 9 weeks or 10 weeks. But basically, these weeks are approximation based on the number of applications they have to review, and based on their strength at the IRCC office. So they give you an estimation. However, there has been instances that people get it way earlier than the stipulated time, and people also get it way farther away from the stipulated time. So regardless of situation, don't always assume that because my response has kept long, I am automatically being denied or something. It might probably be, especially for those who are using agents. Yeah, probably you might have been denied and the agent is keeping the information. However, you should know that it can exceed the time, and it can also be within the time, because with mine it was just approximately 4 weeks from biometric, because you say it the time starts from the biometric, not the time you put application. And I did my biometric on 22nd December, and then I got my decision on 20th January. So just 4 weeks for me to get my my response. I have seen people whose application took sometimes even more than 5 months, yet they got the visa. Some even took less than, someone testified that his took, I think, a week or something. Yeah.
There's one guy currently, he came, I think, about 5 or 6 months ago. His application took 1.5 year,
Oh my
one and a
goodness.
half year before it was approved. Even
Right.
though in the GCMS notes, you can request for your GCMS notes even whilst the application is in progress, just to know the status of your application. When he requested, I think after 7 or 8 months, it was written in it, everything was okay, visa application approved. So he got to know that his application was approved in his GCMS note, but the passport request was actually delaying because he was a military person, and according to him, they requested for additional information and they were doing some background checks about him. So this is a sample of a GCMS note, as we mentioned earlier. So let's look at the information. So when you are denied and you request for it, this is how it's going to look like. But there was an update yesterday that now when they want to send out denial letters, they'll actually add the officer's notes as well. So you do not have to request for GCMS notes and wait for 30 days again. They are saying now any new denials that are going to come, they'll add the officer's notes so that you know the reason why your application was denied. So let's look at what the officer has said here. He said what? Bank statements show less than 6 months of transaction history to assess movement of funds. It is the responsibility of the applicant to provide proof of funds for the past 6 months as per the application document list. I have concerns the applicant does not have sufficient finances readily available to cover their tuition and living costs while studying in Canada. Taking the applicant's plan of studies into account, the documentation provided in support of the applicant's financial situation does not demonstrate that funds will be sufficient or available for tuition, living expenses, and travel. Weighing the factors in this application, I am not satisfied that the applicant will depart Canada at the end of the period authorized for their stay. For the reasons above, I have refused the application or this application. So let's take note. Even though when you go to the Canadian government website, you see 4 months, please. Someone who submits 4 months, it will work for him or her. But just to play it safe. This is a GCMS note from one of their officers who assessed someone's application. This was even in 2024, I think. Yeah, 2024, February 20th, if you look at the request date. The officer said because it was less than 6 months, he couldn't access the transaction history to know the movement of funds. So because of that, because of this single reason, he's denying the application or she's denying the application. So please, when you're using your bank statement or your sponsor's bank statement, at least use a 5-month or a 6-month bank statement. And also, it should be up to date. I'm looking for another GCMS note, which they deny the person, stating that the statement was not up to date. So because of that, they are denying the person. I'm looking for that information. Once I find it, I'll project it whilst we still continue our discussion with Akwesi. Akwesi, let's talk about getting to Canada. So when your visa got approved, how was the euphoria like?
When I got approved, I was happy for a moment. But as meticulous as I am, I suddenly became indifferent. And the reason is, yeah, I have had the opportunity to now go to Canada. Now, what's next? How am I going to live my life? It's an unknown land. I'm going there, not with my parents, not with any of my friends. I don't know anybody in this country. How am I going to live my life over there? What are my plans? If I get here, I don't make it, I'm a failure. Because we know that systems up here is created to help you to make it easier as compared to where we are coming from. And so these kind of thoughts were something ringing in my head. And at any point in time when I think about this, it made me shiver a bit. So yes, when it came initially, I was so happy. But then the question I asked myself after some few time was, what next? How am I going to plan my life? What am I going to do? In some years to come, how am I going to see myself? So these thoughts, in as much as it scared me, it also helped me to make some strong plan. Because, when you don't plan these things, there are a lot of people out here in Canada, here in Ontario, to be precise. They are in Canada, but they are really struggling. They have money, they have it, but they are still struggling. Maybe I am here, I probably don't have it like that, but I am very okay. Because one thing you should know about traveling abroad is when you don't plan very well and you get out of status, you are doomed. And so you strive so hard not to be out of status. And now, limiting it to my case, now I have applied to University of Saskatchewan, I have applied to University of Alberta here, and then I have not had any of the decisions. Now, Trent University is saying I have to pay 25,000 Canadian dollars as my tuition fee. And I even decide not to go to the school. So what next for me? Those were the thoughts that were running through my mind anytime I think about this opportunity that I've had. And so it made me now develop tough plans. So now the plan that I made for myself first was, what if I don't get any of these two schools that I am even boasting that I will get? Will I go back to Trent? Would I have the money to pay the tuition? Or I should now apply to another school? So what I did was I applied to University of Windsor. Yeah, I did that. I applied to University of Windsor for their econs program. And gladly I got that. Yeah, but you come to that later. Yeah,
Okay.
so I got that. Yeah,
Okay.
I got University of Windsor, their econ program masters.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that.
Let me
So
just pass this information on. So the second GCMS note I was looking for, fortunately, I've been able to find it, and I think this is even latest. It was created 2025 January. That's the 7th. The application was processed at the Winnipeg office, Winnipeg RCC. This is the information, and was processed with the assistance of Chinook. That is the AI that helps the officers process our visa applications and other applications. It says what? I have reviewed the application. The applicant's assets and financial situation are insufficient to support the stated purpose of travel for the applicant, and if there is any accompanying family member, if applicable. Financial statements are missing most recent 2 months of financial history prior to application submission. I'm taking that side again. Financial statements are missing most recent 2 months of financial history prior to application submission. I am not satisfied. Client has provided up-to-date financial documents. I am not satisfied. Client has proven they have current, emphasis on what? Current and available funds. Based on the financial documents submitted, I am not satisfied that the applicant has sufficient and available funds to pay for their purpose of travel. I am not satisfied client has sufficiently proven they are well established in their country of residence. Weighing the factors in this application, I am not satisfied that the applicant will depart Canada at the end of the period authorized for their stay. For the reasons stated above, I have refused this application. So this is another sample of another GCMS note. And it was recent, just this year. The reason was simply the applicant didn't use a current bank statement, because if you look at the GCMS note, it says what? It is missing the recent 2 months financial history. So let's say, for example, I am submitting an application this month. That is July, right? So if we count 2 months backwards, that will be when? January, February, March, April, May. So that will be May. So this applicant submitted his application in, let's say, July, but the bank statement he used was up to what? May.
Or
That
maybe
is here in the GCMS note, because it's missing the recent 2 months. That means the bank statement was too old for the visa officer to be able to assess whether that is the true financial situation of the person or the person's sponsor. So when you're using a bank statement, ensure that it is up to date. It is 5 or 6 months. It has a good closing balance. It has an excellent transaction history as well. Let's continue, Akwesi.
All right, so so those were the initial thoughts that came in mind when I had I had the visa, and then now coming to Canada was also a huge hurdle that I had to jump.
But I thought you told the visa officer that your brother has over 2 million Ghana cedis, and he'll be paying for your fees once you get here. So what changed about that?
Yeah, so I will pay my fees, yes, but the problem was the fact that I didn't like the school, and now am I going to that school or am I going to a different school?
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my dilemma at that point. So I had to look into other avenues. And now coming to Canada was also a great hurdle because I also had to read a lot about coming to Canada. I didn't rush things at all. I got my visa in January. However, I flew out of the country in March. Yeah. So I even booked my flights in January. So I had it very cheap. Yeah. I even had it very cheap because I made plans as to when I wanted to get to Canada and everything.
Okay.
So when I was coming to Canada, the documentations were kind of difficult because at that time, people were coming to Canada and there were a lot of stories around the port of entry and even port of departure. That sometimes when you get to Kotoka, they can worry you with some documentations. People got to Canada and they were stranded because they lacked maybe a document or two, and even to a point that a very good friend of mine, I know this guy personally, that he had even paid part of his tuition deposit, but then his passport was seized in Canada. He used Toronto Pearson. His passport was seized because they told him that the amount of money he has paid is not adequate enough, so he should go pay more and come show with proof and come for his passport.
Was he issued his study permit too, or they didn't issue the study
No,
permit?
they didn't give everything to him. They even took his passport from
Okay.
him. That was what he told me. And it was very scary at that point because I am also coming new. At that point, I had not even paid my tuition deposit because I thought I don't want to go there, so I don't want to even pay anything. And so what would I do? So what I did was I had to make sure I was anytime I get scared about a thing, I don't fold. I actually take a step to face it because it is a thing that is coming at me. I will face it. So I have to definitely face my foe. So what I did was I had to prepare adequately. So upon hearing stories of people, I got there. They requested for an updated bank statement. I got there. They looked at tuition deposits. I got there. They looked at this. I got there. They looked at that. I made sure I had all those documents ready. So what I had was I had to get an updated bank statement because when I was applying, I applied in December. So my bank statement ended in November. So and I was living in March. So I have to get a bank statement which will at least get to even April or maybe March because I was living at the end of March. So I have to get a bank statement which was an updated one. And then I was even at the point forced to pay the tuition deposit. But then I got it refunded when I got here in Canada. Yeah.
Okay.
So I also paid my tuition deposit just to have the receipt and make sure I can pass through the stages of the entries and the departure. At the airport, I want to talk briefly about that. At the airport, I didn't really have any problem when I got to Canada. When I got to Canada, I used Montreal because I wanted to have this road exploration. So when I got to Montreal, I realized on the map that from Montreal to Ontario is not really far. It was just about 6 hours journey. So I wanted to explore Canada. So I got to Montreal and I decided to take a bus to Ontario instead of a flight just to see the road, see the country, enjoy everything over there. So it was also a planned thing that I did. And then when I got to Montreal, they only asked of where I'll be lodging. I was like, well, I'll be lodging in Ontario. And then I was like, welcome to Canada, and he gave me my study permit, and that was it. I didn't do anything in Montreal. But then when I got to Kotoka, that was when I had, oh my goodness, it was a hell over there. When I got there, I don't want to mention the flights. Maybe you will put some disreputation or whatsoever to their name, so I don't want to mention the flights.
Sure.
When I got there, I was in a queue to be assessed and those process. And then the lady asked me that, where is my undergrad certificate? So I had it. I had the hard copy, but I think I forgot I had a hard copy. So I decided to show to her my soft copy. And this lady was like, she asked before even getting that, she asked a lot of things, my passport, my Ghana card, whatever documents. So I showed everything to her. And then she asked of the university, my undergrad certificate. And I told her I have the soft copy. She told me she doesn't need the soft copy. She needs a hard copy. And I asked why will a soft copy not suffice what you want to do? And she was like, she just needs a hard copy. She doesn't need a soft copy because she is mandated to check whatever documents I use in my application. And so I paused a bit because I had also, looked into it, and I know it is not really something that IRCC has said it on their website. So you can't deny me of my flights because I am not providing hard copy of my undergrad certificate. So I told her, okay, so you told me that whatever documents I use in my visa and my school application, you need to say it. That's fine. Would you request for my statement of purpose? And she was looking at me. Will you request for my other documents that I use for my visa application? The statement of purpose I use for my school application, will you require that? And I use my transcript, will you require that? She was looking at me. And then she was just quiet. And she asked me my proof of payment, my tuition deposit. And I showed her that time I had paid $500 just as a way to, because it was not stated. So I just wanted to show that was what the school was requiring. So I got there and I showed it to her $500, although the school was requiring 2,500, but it wasn't stated anywhere. So when I showed that to her, she was like, that is too small. And I questioned her back. Who actually told me that is too small? The school is requiring me to pay this amount of money. The school saw that I paid this amount of money. IRCC saw that I have paid this amount of money, and they gave me the visa. And you are telling me that it is not enough for me to go through the flights to where I'm going. So it became back and forth in the queue. People behind me had to even past me because it was back and forth between myself and
Yeah.
the woman, and I was getting kind of upset. So I turned back. So she told me to step back. So I stepped back and I turned back and I saw my father, and my father was, oh my goodness, at that point, oh, this man. he was so confused, and I was, what is happening? I was like, calm down, because at that point I knew what I was doing and I knew
Yeah.
what I was saying. I knew whatever she was requesting was out of the league, and some way somehow at that point, whatever she was requesting, I felt I was right, and I had a case. So I stepped back and I told my dad to calm down. They weren't allowing him to get close, so I told him he should calm down and I'll get everything covered. So eventually, I think his superior came. So when the superior came in, she told the superior, and the superior called me. So when I went there, I started with some anger thing. I was like, I got in here, I have everything that I need to get, and this woman is denying me of passing through this stage for whatever reason. So then he looked at it, and I told her everything. I told him everything that has transpired between myself and the woman, that she's requesting the hard copy of my university certificate, and she's also requesting that I pay more than what I have paid, although I actually said my school has approved what I have paid. So he told me to calm down and he will address the issue. So what he did was he told me to open my portal, which I did. So I opened my school portal, and he glanced through my portal, and he only advised me that, well, when I get to where I am doing the layover, maybe they might want the hard copy. So sometimes when I'm traveling, I should get a hard copy. He talked to me nicely, and I got to understand it that way. I was like, oh, okay. So then he did everything for me, and I passed through, and I got my flight. Out of even anger, I left my laptop at the airport, just only for me to hear that they're announcing someone has left his laptop, and I had to go back to get. Yeah, so that was what happened at Kotoka. But aside that, nothing happened at Montreal. I just got there, and it was welcome to Canada.
Okay. Okay. So it means you entered Canada before you applied to University of Alberta. Is that right?
I had applied to University of Alberta in Ghana, but then the decision came when I was in Canada, and
Okay.
that was where the MPOWER comes in.
Okay. So what documents did you use for this master's application, if you can let us know?
Okay, so for this masters, for masters in agricultural
And,
and resource
and did you
economics,
do the application yourself or
yeah,
you
I
got
did it myself.
someone?
No, I did it myself.
But
All the
someone who's
application.
naive about the whole process, how come you were able to do a master's application now? Because even graduate diploma application, you couldn't do it yourself.
No, so the naivety was not about applying to schools, because even after national service, I was applying to schools. I was applying
Okay.
to scholarships. I mentioned I applied to Hungary. I got admission to Australia. I applied to Canada. China government scholarship. Japan, that is MEST and other things. I did all of those. Even Erasmus Mundus, I did all of those. But then where I said I was kind of naive was about the Canadian context. I didn't know anything about the visa process, but I generally know everything about school application.
Oh,
So
okay.
for school, I know about it, but the visa application was what I learned. So for the U of A here, the documents I used was the documents that they required was my transcript and my certificate from my undergrad, and they needed 3 references, 2 from academia and 1 from professional. However, if you are out of school for long, you can use 2 from professional and 1 from academia. And
Okay.
then they didn't ask me to write a statement of purpose. They actually wanted me to write a research interest. So that
Okay.
was what I wrote
Of how many
for.
of how many pages?
um I think they were not more than 2 pages. It shouldn't exceed 2 pages. But
Okay.
for the wording, I don't think there were restrictions. But the only restriction that came was it shouldn't be more than 2 pages.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wrote my research interest, and I also submitted my transcripts. I submitted my certificates, and also I got the references. So those were the documents I used for the U of A application.
Okay. The references, were there hard copies you took from your lecturers, or they received an email in their institutional emails and submitted it on your behalf? If you can clarify that.
So the U of A portal requires you to provide the details of your referees, and so they will send an automatic message to them, and they will deal with them directly, not through you. So I provided the reference of my professors, and they did it directly from their end to the university for me, and same for my professional one as well.
Okay. Were they all institutional emails, or you use this Yahoo Mail and Gmails?
No, they were institutional emails. For the professional, they were all in KNUST. So they use the KNST one, and for the academia and for the professional, it was my company. We had that institutional email, so that was what I used for that. But then when I got here, I talked to some people here in my class, and some of them use the generic one, the Yahoo and other things. Yeah, people use that one.
Which
Yeah,
was
I know about three people who use the generic one. Even for the academic references and for the professional, they use the generic one.
okay. How much was the application fee during the time you were submitting the application?
135 Canadian dollars. I even didn't have money at that time. It was my friend in the US who paid for me, and I paid him back. So I'll be like, bro, I want you to pay this for me. So then I develop a payment plan. Okay, I'll pay you back in 3 months, and then yeah. So that was basically what I did.
Okay. So after you arrived in Canada, originally you didn't come here with the University of Alberta, but you applied for that school when you got to Canada before the decision came.
Yeah.
Technically, you are not supposed to go to University of Alberta per the rules. So how were you able to transition or move from Trent University? Because you said you didn't start Trent. How were you able to move from Trent University and transition to University of Alberta, if you can let us know?
All right. So at the time, what I did was I I deferred. I sent a message to Trent University to defer my starting date
Okay.
to the next opening, which was in September, because I know I wouldn't go to the May opening. So they approved of the deferment. And what I did next was, at that time it was possible. I don't really know at now, but at that time it was possible for you to change your DLI on your GC keys. So after getting admission to the University of Alberta here, I I now went to, after finalizing everything over here, I now went to my GC keys to change my DLI. I remember very well. Even with that, I there were people who had done this. So I talked to Richard, yeah, Kichi, yeah. I talked to him about the process, and then he took me through it, and then thank you very much. So he took me through it, and then I changed my deal. I asked him if you get any message afterwards. He said no, you are not going to get any message. And then what I did was, after doing that, I requested for my GCMS notes. You can actually do that. So after changing your DLI, you can request for GCMS notes, and once the notes come, you realize that your new DLI will be affected on the GCMS notes, and that was what I did. So I applied for the GCMS notes, and I realized that it had changed from Trent University to University of Alberta.
Okay. It's just a one-man production, so you can see I'm using my phone. I'm just sharing the link so that those who want to join us live can join us live and ask Akwesi their questions so that we can respond or we can clarify. So I've shared the links on the various platforms that I belong to. I'm going to share it on Twitter. I've shared it on YouTube and Facebook already. So you can just look out for that StreamYard link and join us to ask your questions. Any questions that you have and you want Akwesi to clarify, once he's live here, he would be ready to clarify those questions. And we'll be wrapping up in like 10 or 15 minutes time. So try your best and join early and ask your questions if you want to. Okay, so he spoke about the change of DLI. It is rather unfortunate that now you cannot log in into your GC key and change your school directly. That policy has now been cancelled. If you are in Canada and you want to change your school, you simply have to apply for a new study permit. And applying for a new study permit, it is not really a big issue if you are compliant with the rules or the terms and conditions of your old study permit. Applying for a new study permit is not really a big deal. So if you're in Canada now and you want to change your school, yes, there is an opportunity for you to still change your school. You just have to apply for a new study permit. When it's approved, they will make the old study permit invalid and they'll send you a new study permit, a hard copy of it through your mailbox in like 2 or 3 weeks' time so that you can start using that. So if you are here and you want to change your school, but if you're outside, unless you've gotten your visa, if you want to change your school, you still have to put in a new application. But then I will not advise that you change your school whilst you're outside Canada. Enter Canada, even if you have the admission, hold on to the admission, enter Canada, and do an in Canada application. That is very, very advisable. Okay. So, looking at the University of Alberta, you were using MPOWER Financial Loan or MPOWER Educational Loan.
Yeah.
How did you hear about MPOWER, and what prompted you to go in for an educational loan for your masters? Didn't you explore any funding avenues for your program?
All right, that is a very good question. So, in my department here, we have two streams. So we have the one that comes with funding. That
Okay.
is the typical research base, and we have the coursework.
Okay.
So, per my life's plan, I chose to pursue the course base, and the reason is that I don't want to be in the academia, even though I am very good over there. I see myself as an industry person, and this course-based program is geared towards what the industry requires. So the courses that I even before coming here, let's assume I didn't even know anything. So when you go to the school's website, you get to see these courses, and these courses were you see the description of these courses. These courses were described in a way that it was geared towards what the industry needs. So you are basically taught the industrial things. But then when you read on the thesis based, you realize that it is solely based on research, and maybe if you want to pursue higher education level. So I looked at myself, I assessed myself that even though it would be very good for me to pursue the MSc, which is the thesis based. However, per my plan, I wouldn't want to do that. So I stick to my plan, and I make sure I apply to the one I want. So now the one I want is not coming with funding, and that is what I want. So I was now torn between the fact that should I now pursue the thesis base, which will span for 2.5 years, keep me long in school. I'm aging. I don't want to be in academia. Should I do that, or I should find a way to pay my tuition and then just do the course base, be out of school, and go into the industry? So I was torn between the two of them, and I eventually settled on the fact that I want to focus on the course base. So now, if you want to focus on the course base, how are you going to fund yourself? And so on the university's website, the program is Resource Economics and Environmental Sociology. So that is the name of the program. And under it, we have two branches. We have the Agricultural and Resource Economics, and we have the Sociology part. Yeah. So now back to what I was saying. So okay, I thought sorry. Yeah. So now back to what I was saying. So I now decided to look out for ways to pay my tuition, and now back to my looking into it. I chanced on MPOWER, and people were also talking about MPOWER on that platform, that they use MPOWER funding, and that. Yeah, I think that is the fourth prompt. You typed it.
Okay. Is it a Faculty of Agriculture?
No, go back, go clear everything and type resources.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the fourth one. Resource Economics and Environmental Sociology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is a department. So when you go into the department, we have the Agricultural Resource Economics, and we have the Sociology.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm just display University of Alberta's website now. Please, those asking about undergraduates, yes, the undergraduate programs as well. When you just visit the website, if it's undergraduate, check undergraduate. If it's graduate, you check graduate. And every program has 8 deadlines, and also when applications will be open. You have to also double check that before you even go and create an account to start an application. So I'm just looking for your program.
That guy you saw in the previous page is a Ghanaian. I know him personally here.
Which guy is that? Let's project him here so that at least.
Yeah, in the previous page, he's my friend, and I've been working with him. Yeah,
Oh, this guy?
Yeah.
He's a Ghanaian.
Yeah, he's a Ghanaian.
He works as a policy analyst.
Yeah, so that is, and he did exactly my program. He did a course base. So as I told you, the course base is geared towards putting you in the industry. So you do things about policy, you do things about finance, you do things about game theory, things that will put you in the land economy. So that is what you do in the course-based work. But for the thesis base, you do deeper econometrics, and other things which you use for accounts modeling if you want to pursue your PhD and other things.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
so a Ghanaian is thriving. He's working with the government of
Oh
Alberta
yeah.
under
Yeah.
the Ministry of Energy and Minerals. Oh,
Mhm.
nice. So we are doing well. We are doing well abroad. Our Ghanaian folks are doing well here.
Yeah. In my cohort, we have just for the accounts part, we have in my cohort we were I think 11 students, and 3 were Ghanaians, so it's quite something good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look for your program. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Which of them? Is it the Master of Agriculture or the Master
Boom.
of?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay, that's a 1 year program, 12
Yeah,
months.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I've clicked on it. I don't know why. Okay. I don't know why it's not appearing. So these are the areas of study. Okay. So yours
Exactly.
is agriculture and resource economics.
Very well. And the other part is the rural and environmental sociology. So
Okay.
that is to say that people in Ghana who are doing sociology, you can look into this. When you go to the university society, maybe you might not see MSc sociology. You can come here and you do this kind of sociology. It's also part of your field.
Okay.
Because
So
I know someone coming here just next month in August. She's coming for the next cohort and she's coming for the sociology. Yeah. And she
okay.
did sociology in Ghana.
Okay. Okay. So the opening date is November 1st. So applications are not opened yet. And the closing date is March 1st. So if you are interested in applying to University of Alberta, this master's program, keep the opening date in mind, keep the closing date in mind. You can check out the requirement as well. We have step 1 year, check your eligibility for the Master of Agriculture. That is a 4-year undergraduate degree in a related area or its academic equivalent. GPA of 3.0 out of 4.0 in the last 2 years or the last 60 credits of post-secondary studies. So you just come to the website and check everything. Additional requirements for international students, like blah, 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 transcript, language proficiency, which you don't need that because it's waived for Ghanaians. GRE course is only for PhD applicants. A curriculum vitae, research statement form, names and contact of trade references, and application fee is still 135 card. It has not even been increased. It is still 135 card. So if it's something you're interested in doing, you can just. I think this guy is also a Ghanaian, right?
Yeah, I
Abdul.
know Hamid. Hamid is also a Ghanaian. Yeah. Oh
Oh,
wow.
he
I
also
never
works
knew
in the
Hamid.
Ministry of Health.
Yeah. So Hamid did the thesis base. Hamid is very good. So over here for the MSc, averagely they spend it's stated is 2 years, but then averagely they spend 2.5 years. And this guy was one of the exceptional students who could use just 2 years to complete it. For you to use 2 years, you should be really, really exceptional. And this guy was part of the few people who could use just 2 years to complete. I know Hamid very well.
Wow, wow, wow.
Hamid is so exceptional.
He finished, I think, in 2023.
Yeah.
Oh.
He did his undergrad in UDS. Yeah, UDS.
Oh, cool. So please, if you're watching us now, someone is asking, can you help through the process? Please, this is how he's helping through the process. So here on this platform, you have to do it yourself. That is why we are sharing our screen, projecting the information, looking at the program, looking at the requirements. You have to go to the school, the official page, create an account, prepare the documents, upload whatever you need to upload, submit, pay application fee, and wait for a decision. One of these days, I think I have to do a session live on how to apply for undergraduate programs and graduate programs. We'll just pick some random schools and I'll do demonstrations so that we could see how to go about the application. It's not anything tough. In like less than 20 or 30 minutes, you should be able to put in the applications. The only difficult aspect is preparing the documents like your statement of purpose, your research statements, your academic CV or your resume, and writing sample if applicable. And even these things, there are a whole lot of samples online which you can use as a guide. Because of AI, getting information now is very, very easy. So please, this is our way of teaching you how to do it. But he can't apply for you. No, he can't do that. But guiding you, that is what we are doing here. So I've still shared the link. If you have any question, just join us and ask your question live, or leave your question in the comment section. I'll project it and he will respond. So Akwesi, continue with the explanation you were giving.
All right, so I was talking about the MPOWER thing. So I now decided to use MPOWER when I finally made the decision that I will use the course based instead of the thesis based. And so what I did was I now read more on the requirements of what MPOWER needs. And so MPOWER, the first thing I got to know is that they fund programs which are not more than 2 years per the time I checked. So
Okay.
if your study will be more than 2 years, MPOWER will not fund. MPOWER will only fund your program if it's more than 2 years. That if you have already done the first 2 years and you have 2 years or less remaining, that is where MPOWER comes in. That is to say that maybe if you want to pursue undergrad, you can pursue your undergrad, do your first year, do your second year, and in your third year you can now apply for the MPOWER. That is how MPOWER works. So that is the first requirement. And the second requirement is that you have to submit your acceptance letter. I mean the letter of admission to show that yes, you are admitted to this school. And the rest are basically some information. I think for my MPOWER application, I had to. They asked if I have a sponsor, which I said yeah, I have a sponsor. So I sent. They asked about how much my sponsor was willing to sponsor me with. So I stated the amount, and they asked of my sponsor's bank statement. And so I used the same bank statement, although it was not really updated. But then I used that same bank statement that I used for my visa application to do this MPOWER. And MPOWER is not eligible for all schools. It is eligible for some schools in Canada, which of course the University of Alberta is part, and also some schools in the US. So when you go to the website, as Sly has shown on the page, you get to know some of these schools that MPOWER is eligible to fund.
Okay,
So
so we can even mention them. So when you come to their website, you just go to find my school. That is MPOWER website. You type MPOWER Financing. You come to find my school. Then they'll ask you to search by name or by province. So we have countries here. We have US and Canada. So I selected Canada because I need Canadian institutions. So let's look at the institutions. We have University of Ottawa in Ontario, University of Toronto in Ontario, Brook University in Ontario, Carleton University in Ontario, Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, Lakehead University in Ontario, McMaster University in Ontario, Northeastern University in Ontario, Northeastern University in Vancouver, British Columbia. You click on load more. We have 24 schools in Canada that MPOWER supports. We have Queen's University at Kingston in Ontario, Simon Fraser University, British Columbia, Trent University, Ontario, University of Alberta, Ontario, University of Calgary, Ontario, University of Guelph, Ontario, University of Lethbridge, Alberta, University of Manitoba in Manitoba, that is my school, University of New Brunswick in New Brunswick, University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon, University of Waterloo in Ontario, University of Windsor in Ontario, Western University, that is University of Western Ontario, is also in Ontario, Wilfrid Laurier University in Ontario, York University in Ontario. Just to pass this quick information, if you're interested in a mathematics or statistics program, the last school that I mentioned on the MPOWER website, Wilfrid Laurier University, you can check it out. They have some nice mathematics programs. And when you get in, you'll be funded. So if you're interested, just go to their website and look out for more information. So let's continue, Akwesi.
okay, so yeah, so basically those were the requirements. So once I realized the University of Alberta was part of it, I was like, hey, then I can put in an application. So in my application process, they asked of the general requirements that about the school, about myself, and about how I plan to fund the my school and how much I would want them to also help me with. So I stated all of those in the application process. And then they asked if I have someone who is going to sponsor my education a bit. And I said, yeah, I have a sponsor. Some people, I have also helped someone to apply for this same MPOWER. And the person said, no, he doesn't have any sponsor, yet he was given the MPOWER funding. So that is to say that you can either have a sponsor, you can have no sponsor, yet you still get the MPOWER funding. So I did that also. And once you say you have a sponsor, they will ask of the sponsor's details and some information about him. So they ask of his national identity card, which I uploaded his Ghana card. They ask of his bank statements, which I did. And I think they also asked of his business registration certificate. I think so. I think they asked of the business registration certificate. So I uploaded those things, but they are not really as tedious as how the visa process might look. For this, it is very basic. It's very easy. So once you apply for it, you wait for about 2 weeks to get the response from them. So they will either reject your application, where they will give you a reason why they rejected, or they will approve you. So once they approve you, my dear, they are not going to send the money to your account, no. So they are going to, if you are thinking that is a way for you to get through the country, that is not how it is. So they are going to, once you get approved, they are going to ask you to submit your study permit to them. So you send that one to them, and then if you send that one to them, they will now remit the money straight to the university account. So all you know is that the money has been paid to your account. But there are some people I know, some friends in New York University, that they apply for the Empower. They make sure Empower paid more. You can, as I said earlier, you can have you have the part that you will request the amount of money you want. So they requested more, and then Empower paid more than what the school required, and so Empower paid the amount of money to the school, and then they went to the school finance office to get back the difference. So yeah, it happened with them, and so they got that funding, and they got the funding. Empower funded them, and Empower, they have a prepayment plan, and I think I don't want to mention any figure, but then I think Sly will help me with the rate. It's around 15.99 or something. I have forgotten the rate. Yeah. And once you are a student, you are paying less. So they will, in your accept, when they give you the loan, in the loan approval form, you have a part where they will tell you how much you're going to pay every month, and how much you are going as a student, and how much you're going to pay at the at your time, after your time as a student. So with mine, the stipulated time, based on what I submitted to them, they said I'm going to complete my school in 2026, and so I'm going to pay as a student very less amount up to 2026 December, and from 2027, that is when I'm going to pay relatively higher than what I'm paying currently. And the good thing about Empower is, one, it's a way that you can use to apply for your visa, because I know I help a friend in Ghana to use Empower for his application, and he got approved. And let me go back to explain that part in the proof of fund. So when you are using Empower for your visa application, what you have to do is, in your proof of fund document, you have to state emphatically how you are going to repay the loan. So you are not just going to state the fact that Empower has granted me an amount of days to reduce my deficit, or Empower is going to cater for my education. That is that is not enough. You are proving, yeah, you are saying that yes, to show that you have proof of fund. However, you have to add how you are going to repay the loan. So in some context, in the context of my friend, I mentioned that he had a business in Ghana running for him. So that business is the money we are going to realize from that business, the profit we are going to realize from that business, is what we are going to use for the Empower repayment, so that you will have. Because I don't think you'd have to. No, they don't want. I don't know, but I think they wouldn't want to hear a story that when I get to Canada, I'm going to work and I'm going to use the money I'm working with to pay my. No, they don't want to hear that, because you are coming as a student. Even though with your student permit you are permitted to work, they don't want to see anything in your application that you are going to get to Canada to work, even though it permits you. So never mention anything of that sort. Just try to make a point that you are going to use your businesses in your home country, or maybe if you have Empower and additional sponsor, maybe you can talk about the fact that your sponsor is willing to pay the Empower loan while he also caters for you here or something. So just create a story around it, and make sure that your story resonates with your situation, and it rings a bell in the mind of the visa officer. So that's basically the Empower part of my application and what I did for a friend.
Okay, thank you very much, Akwesi. We've been talking to Akwesi for close to 2 hours 20 minutes now. We just have a few couple of questions again, so that we'll wrap up. But if you've not hit the subscribe button yet, kindly do that. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, or look for the link. I've posted it on YouTube, Facebook, X, that is Twitter, and on the various platforms that I belong to. Join us live and ask Akwesi your question so that he can attend to them. I have some few people on standby here, so let me bring them on board so that they can ask their question. Kweku, you are live on TDN. If you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question, we'll be very glad. Kweku. Okay, since Kweku is not ready, let me bring on board Francois. Francois, you're live on TDN. You can unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Okay, TDN. So I want to find out. So the MPOWER, can you use it to prove that yearly amount that they want, or it would have to be for the school fees?
All right, thank you very much. So MPOWER is with my knowledge, MPOWER is an amount of money that will be paid to the school, as I said. So it is basically in relation to your tuition fee. However, don't ever use only MPOWER to fund your education, because even in the normal sense, in the proof of fund statement, you are going to show how you are going to fly into the country. MPOWER is not going to fund you to fly into the country. So yes, for the MPOWER, it is basically to offset the deficit in your tuition. But then for the living expenses, for the other things which will be captured in your proof of fund, with respect to the miscellaneous, the flights in and out, you have to still have a secondary proof of bank statement to show that you have some amount of money to help your education.
And just to add to what he has said, so for example, let's say your tuition fee for 1 year is, let's say, 18,000 Canadian dollars, and MPOWER approves a loan of, let's say, even $25,000 for you, which sometimes happens. That money is going to cater for only your tuition fee. Now, your living expenses, which is 20,635 for 1 year, but it will be increased to 22,000 in September, and your flight ticket, you would have to prove that by showing a bank statement either from yourself or from a sponsor. But MPOWER has already covered your tuition cost of, let's say, 18,000, because they've even over approved your loan. So in that case, you're not going to need that huge amount of money in your bank statement again, because MPOWER is taking about 18,000 of it. So you only need to prove funds of, let's say, 20 something thousand instead of, let's say, 40 something thousand, because of the MPOWER. Now, one good thing about some schools, as Akwesi said earlier, is that when you come and they disperse the money, whatever they want, whatever is left, some of the schools will give it to you. Some of the schools too, they would return the money to MPOWER. So it's not every school that is going to give the money to you when they take out what they need and whatever is left. For instance, even though I'm not using MPOWER in Manitoba, I know people who are using MPOWER. And the way it works in Manitoba is that even whatever amount you are approved, before MPOWER will disperse the money to University of Manitoba, you would have to go to the financial department and take what we call a bill, like Ghana, what we call like a bill or a form to show that, okay, this is the amount you owe for this particular term. Then you submit that document to MPOWER. Then MPOWER will disperse that exact amount directly to University of Manitoba. So that is how it works for University of Manitoba. For other schools, if it's, let's say, they approve you 20,000, MPOWER disperse all the 20,000 to the school. After the school did that, let's say that 18,000, that 2,000 is left. You can go to the school and take that money, or you can tell them to apply that money to your next term tuition. So, Francois, I don't know if you have any additional question to ask again, or your question has been answered.
Okay, that's solid. I think you've given me a very good overview of the whole thing. I don't know if I could add up any questions, probably not related to this one, if there's room
Sure,
for that.
you could double up because the other people on standby.
Okay, so definitely this will be more of a personal advice. Like, if anybody has the option of, let's say, having a chance to enter any of the Schengen zone or any of those areas, and the person has intentions of probably moving to Canada, does it give any advantage? Would you advise that the person takes that shot and going to Canada, or better wait here and things sort out before they hit straight at Canada? What would you advise?
Okay. From what I've noticed, because Your case, I've had a couple of people. I think I've had about 5 or 7 people in that situation before. What I've noticed about some of these countries is that once you move out of Ghana into somewhere better, and you are legal there, you have a legal status there, and you apply for their visa, you are granted. But I'm not saying it happens in all cases, because I know about 3 guys who applied for Canada visit visa in Ghana, they got denied. But when they got to US and they applied for it, it didn't even take 3 weeks. They approved their Canada visas and they were issued 10 years multiple entry just recently. But if you're even applying from Ghana currently, a visitor's visa, and you are not lucky, you might even end up getting 6 months single entry. But if you're lucky, you can still get up to the end of your passport multiple, depending on the officer who is reviewing your application, because they've brought some changes in their processes currently. So yes, if you have the opportunity to travel to any of the Schengen countries legally, you can go there and apply from there. It may have a positive impact on your application, because sometimes travel history also helps per the experiences I've had from some friends who did that. So I don't know if Akwesi has something to add to that as well.
Yeah, generally, when you have a very good travel history, when you have traveled out of your country to different countries or a different country, and you are in status, you probably have higher chances because of the history of that country. They feel sometimes, example, Sly gave, someone in the US coming to Canada, someone in Canada going to the US. It feels like, or someone, let's say, in Germany coming to Canada, it feels like, oh, Germany is already like kind of good, comfortable over there. So if this person is coming to maybe Canada, it is for a good intention. But then, if someone is from a developing country, I don't want to say undeveloped, a developing country, in that case, it makes it a bit hard because they want to filter it so stringent that they will get the real people who wants to actually come to the country to do what they are applying for the visa for. But that notwithstanding, I know a friend. He applied to the U of A. He's in one of the Schengen countries. He applied to my program, and unfortunately, he didn't even get admission. Meanwhile, he has another master's over there. But I
Okay.
know someone even coming this year who just has just undergrad, and the person got admission. So the fact that you are in a Schengen country does not automatically give you the nod in admission for school and in visa processing. All of this, you have to prove a point to show that you actually merit it. However, some countries may have a soft spot in the heart of the visa officer than other countries.
So Francois, I believe you've gotten the opinions and you advise yourself on what is best for you.
Definitely. That's a very good one. It's a whole pool of advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I'm taking you off now.
All right, sure.
Okay, so if you still have any question to ask our brother, please just use the link, join us live. There is a question in the comment section. Richard Mensah, oh my good brother, he was on my live last week. If you've missed that session, just go and check it out. The last week session I had, Richard Mensah was there, and he's also a graduate student who is moving into a PhD program currently. He's done with his master's, and he has gotten another PhD with funding, which he's going to study. So if you need assistance, that's his Facebook handle. You can look for him and reach out to him. He will also help you in one way or the other. He's asking, if after school I'm not getting employment, how do I handle the MPOWER loan repayment with the interest?
All right, that's a very good question, Richard. So what happens that even I wouldn't even consider it from if after school, even while you are a student, if by virtue of whatever reason you are not able to comply to the agreement that is stipulated in your contract with MPOWER, what you should do is you can email them. So you send them an email, or they have a call line. So if you are in the country, in Canada, here in the US, you can call them also to explain why you are not able to pay the amount of money stipulated in your contract, and giving tangible reasons, they will probably give you some they will give you some some grace period. Yeah, let me put it that way. They will give you some grace period. So in the conversation with them, they will ask you, how long do you think it's possible for you to get a job? So like if I am coming back to your question, so let's say you are not getting employed, so they will ask you, so how long do you think you are probably going to get a job? Then you mention about how you are trying to get a job. Oh, I'm putting application, so I'm hoping that maybe in about 6 months I'll get a job. So depending on what feedback you give to them, they can come into a consensus with you that okay, we are halting the payment for this amount of months, and then you are going to start repaying again at this month. So a friend of mine, he's in the University of Wales also, he did that, and yeah, they understood him. There's also another way to do it, but I don't recommend that. People just overlook it, but it comes with repercussions. People are saying that it affects your credit score. Someone who has also done it has said that it does not affect your credit score, but it is not the right way to go. Over here, we are teaching you the right way to go. So the best thing to do is that you have to get in touch with them. You let them know your situation at hand, and you tell them, and both parties will come into an agreement, and then they will give you a grace period. That is what I know about the Empower if you are not able to repay.
Okay. Richard's question has even drawn my mind to another question. So we all know when you take the Empower loan, whilst you're in school, depending on the amount they've disbursed, you'll be paying what we call a monthly interest. How much are you paying currently, and how do you manage to pay as the monthly interest?
Okay, so for the principal and the interest, I think the interest will be paid. One of them will be paid after school. I don't really remember how they are broken it down, but currently I am paying somewhere around close to 200 Canadian dollars because of the low tuition of 1 year of A and the amount of period they gave me to repay this. So I'm paying less than $200 for every month. And then how am I paying it? So as I was schooling here, I got a job to be a part-time private tutor at one of a learning center here. So that is basically what I've been doing until this time that I was done with coursework, that I stopped that job, and I am currently working with one company as a policy analyst, but it's on contract basis. So those are the ways I am keeping myself. And when I got to Ontario before school started, I got there in March and I started school in September.
That one
So
I understand. No need
yeah,
to say it. I understand.
yeah, exactly what happened. Yeah, so that is what happened. So I had a lot of money, not a lot of money, but I had enough money on me. And then getting here, basically, I'm using my part-time job to pay mine, and it's not really something I cannot pay. Yeah.
Okay. So how is life like as an international student, paying interest on educational loans, paying your rent every month, feeding, phone bills, and other expenses? How is life like?
People in Ghana may not want to hear this, but that is a reality on grounds. My dear, it is really hard sometimes if you don't make plans for you coming to abroad. People will be like, I just want to come here, I just want to get to abroad. But if you don't make plans, it's very hard. Because Ghanaians always say that the burgers don't give money. That is a culture here. Over here, nobody gives you a penny. No one will see you and give you a dime. You are on your own. So if you don't make plans, and over here you are not also paying your rent for, let's say, 1 year advance or whatever. It is monthly basis. And one other thing over here is that job security is kind of very low. You can be working here today, and the next day, based on whatever reason, they can lay you off. If their production is even low, they can tend to lay you off. So job security is very low. So you always have to have a contingency plan. So now coming back to that, is not to mean that it is not good here. It is really, really good here. Really, really, really good here. But then it comes with some trade-offs. So now back to this question. For me, because of the work I am doing, I try to live within my means. I am not someone who wants to live a very flamboyant life, that who would want to spend more than what I am getting just to please the internet. People get here and they always want to, take pictures. People get here and over here, there are easy ways to get things. When I got here, I got a phone and I didn't even have a penny. I just went to the shop and I was like, I need a phone. And they be like, so what phone? I didn't have any money. What phone do you want? Okay, so what? Let me know the option you have for iPhone 15. Let me know for iPhone what. So they gave me. I was like, I want this, and I got it without even paying a penny. But if you follow these kind of things, you are going to be in debt because you are going to pay for them. It is very easy to get a car here, but then you ask yourself, do you really need it? If you don't need it, if you are comfortable commuting with the bus, it is good if your job or your school is not very far off that you but if you follow the fact that I've seen a car, I can finance it. It is very easy. You just go to the bank. I've not even tried it, but I know it's relatively easy. You go to the banks and they will give you, and then you'll be cruising in your car, you'll be sending street, but then the monthly bill will be there for you. So what I do is I try to live within my means. I spend what I can afford. I am not on the verge of, in quotes, saving my family because my family understands my situation. I am a student. People get here, they have a term for it. Is it black responsibility? Sometimes when people get here, I understand it can be so tough home. I know that. I really appreciate that and I feel that pain. But then don't think that once you are here, automatically you can solve every problem home.
Problem.
Try to get your grounds firm before, because if you want to help someone in a pit and you're not well grounded, you end up getting into the pit while the person is not up and you both be there. So what I do is I try every means possible to live within my means. If I want to make this grocery shopping, I make budget for it. I make budget for whatever I want to do. I know how much I'm getting at the end of every month, and then I make budget for it. So I know my expenses. I'm paying MPOWER, I'm paying my rent, I'm paying phone bills. Those are basically my everyday things that I pay. So my rent, my MPOWER, my phone bill. So after deducting this, then I give myself money for chilling, because sometimes you want to go out to have some fun. So I give money for that also, and I also give money for saving. So even if it's small, you are planning it and you'll be able to live within your means. So that is basically what I've been doing, and it's keeping me.
Okay. There is another question from Richard Mensah. He's asking, I don't know if you have already talked about this, but please, can I just use an Empower loan to apply for a visa without necessarily adding any other sources of income as an international student from Ghana who intends to study in Canada, in case the loan is enough to cover both tuition and living expenses? I think we touched on this.
Yeah, we touched on it. Maybe he was not here, so I think we have to we have to talk about it again.
Yeah.
All right. So Richard, what happens over here is that Empower will not distribute the money to your account, even though if we are using your same assumption, even though if it's able to pay for your tuition and your living expenses, assuming it is still not paid to your account. So you have to find a secondary bank statement to show that you are able to pay for your living expense. Whatever Empower is giving you is strictly based on your tuition, not your living expense, not your miscellaneous, not your flight in and out. It is solely for your tuition. And so what you have to do is you have to find a way to pay for your living, to prove that you can pay for your living expense and other costs.
Okay, so Richard, I believe that question has been answered, because automatically you will need to fly to Canada. When you come, you need to pay rent, you need to feed, phone bills, and some other things. So how are you going to survive? At least when you show evidence of 1 year living expenses, your flight ticket, and something small for miscellaneous, then you let them know Empower covers the fees. I think you are good to go. And you also talk about the repayment plan, how you're going to repay the monthly interest whilst you're in school. You prove and add the necessary evidences. So that's for those who want to use Empower. So far, how has life been? Studies, the international student life in general, how has it been?
It's been pretty much good
And,
over here.
and concerning academic work, there is this notion back home that, oh, studying abroad is it's not difficult. Once you get in, it's very easy to study and make the grades. So if you can also clarify that, in your opinion.
It's one of the conspiracies that we have built up, that studying abroad is not difficult. It is kind of difficult because what makes it difficult is that over here, not just about the curriculum, not just about what you are learning in class, but it's also about time management. Here is the case: you have moved in as an international student. you are first of all dealing with some shocks, be it weather shocks, be it cultural shocks, and other things. So that will a bit slow you down. Now, over here with their study, what they do is they make sure there is value for whatever time you spend with them. So let's say you are taking about, let's say, 3 courses, you have series of assignments. Unlike Ghana, that sometimes you just do a few assignments in the universities, or sometimes, like, probably even not. Over here, you do series of them, and all of these you have to learn it. And when you are coming as a graduate student, for U of A, for instance, anything less than C plus is a fail for a graduate student. So it means the standard is a bit high. You have to live within that means. And some of the funding opportunities will tell you to maintain some GPA level, else it will be terminated. So it is very rigorous here. You are dealing with work, you are dealing with time, you are dealing with your social life, and now books. Now let me go back to the actual coursework. Over here, there are some things that I just got to know as I got to Canada. Example, I'm doing agricultural resource economics. All examples cited in class are using canola. Do you know canola in Ghana? Probably not. So you have to be extensive to do more, to achieve more. And one thing is, you have to know that in as much as you have your plans and you are coming here for school, maybe school might not be your ultimate goal. But then once you are in school, try as much as possible to achieve greatness, because there is a reward for that. Once you achieve greatness in school, one, you are building a very good connection with your professors who are also connected to the job market. And so they are going to sometimes connect you to the job market through referrals. Over here, referrals work very well. Referrals are everything. Ghana, we call it connection. Over here, it's not connection, it's referral. They refer you. Maybe Ghana, maybe some of whatever means. But over here, referral works so well. So if you manage to get a very good relationship with your professors, by virtue of being a very good student, they can actually refer you for some of these jobs. And then if you go all out to have a very good result, if you go for conferences, if you put in efforts to some competition that goes on in this country, you might probably win some of them, and then you have it on your resume, and having it on your resume will give you a heavy weight. And let me use myself as an example. So during the winter break, it was snowing here, and I was just inside, nothing going on for me. You can't step out, and I was all alone. So I was kind of bored, and I saw an opportunity from my professor. He sent an email to all the graduate students about a competition from the Canadian Agricultural Economic Society. So that is the greatest, that is the biggest agricultural economics society in Canada here. And it was a conference that will happen in January, and that there were competitions that graduate students could do it. So out of boredom, I just wondered, let me just try. So I entered into the competition. There was a policy brief writing competition, and gracefully, the department funded me to go for the conference, fully funded. I went to the conference, and then I happily came second. The entire
At where?
At Ottawa in January 24th to 25th. Yeah.
So your flight ticket was catered for by the department.
Accommodation and feeding, everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just needed my physical presence to go there. And so after getting this, after becoming the second person, you could see the department sent an email to everybody in the department, mentioning your name, that, oh, you went to this conference and you won. And that gives people, like, I mean, your name now rings in their mind. Yeah. So in my winter semester, anytime I get to any class, the first time I get to a class, the first thing is congratulations. And then professors now started knowing me, getting in touch with me, and other things. And when I was about finishing my coursework, I applied for an internship program.
Okay.
And then I did the interview. So they told us we are going to hear from them after a week. So I didn't hear from them, and I sent an email to them that, hey, I didn't hear from you. You said I'm going to hear from you. And then they replied to me that actually they have moved on with another person. However, they were so much interested in my interview, and they want to discuss an opportunity with me. What did I say about my interview? My interview, although they had their structured interview, it was basically about what I won in Ottawa.
Okay.
When we started the conversation, the interview, He was like, she was like, I should, the panel were like, I should introduce myself. I introduced myself. And then the next thing was, all right, so in my introduction, I mentioned the fact that I won an award, because yes, I did. So I mentioned that, and that actually turned the conversation from it being an interview to now knowing what I did in my work. And it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. So eventually, although I didn't get the intention opportunity, they sent me a message that they are so much interested in what I did for the policy brief competition. And so there is a contract that they want me to do for them. And so I was like, okay, let me know what you want me to do. So
Wow.
they brought it up, and I looked at it, and so it was so nice that I sat behind my laptop with panel of people, and we were discussing, I mean, salary. All right, so how much will it take? And like I was just being so big. Okay, so I will charge this for this
Even as
document
a student.
as a student, and that's what I'm currently working at.
Yeah.
So sometimes put yourself out there. Although you came for money, yes, we understand. Although you have your plan, we appreciate that. But once you are in it, please put effort. If you have, over here we don't award first, second, or whatsoever. Although my department did, but then we don't really do that. Nobody cares. But then if you have the opportunity, kindly do it, because I hardly see. I hardly see job opportunities asking for your transcripts. But then adding your transcript, if you get a very good result, you can put it on your resume that academics, I completed University of Alberta and I got a GP of 3 points, whatever you put it. Although they are not asking for it, but it's in your resume. It gives you some weight, because one, the school is credible. Two, for you to go to such a school to get this grade is quite. So yeah, when you get here for the academics, it is kind of tough. Don't be complacent. It is tough, because for master students, they pick the best people. University of Saskatchewan told me that averagely 100 people apply, but they pick 10 to 15. So just imagine, they pick the best 10 to 15. So if you think that Africa education is hard, trust me, it might not be hard. Over here, it's hard because there are other things that you add to the classroom thing that you'd have to do on your own. Classroom, basically, I think the longest I spend in classes, an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. But in Ghana, I had courses that I did for 3 hours, 2 hours. Over here, they come, they just speak small thing, they are out of the class. The rest is on you to now go and do your extensive research to learn more. That is why you are a graduate student. People will even ask you to, within a term, they will ask you to write 10 papers, 25 pages, 10 papers. Within the course, meanwhile, you write midterm, you write end of term, you still do assignments, you do presentations. All of this will come up. You have to prepare slides and other things. So I wouldn't say it's difficult in Ghana more than here, but then over here they make sure you use your time very well. So time management comes in with the curriculum thing and makes here a bit tough, not hard. Tough if you don't plan well.
Okay. I plan to do 2 hours, but we are heading towards
Oh my
3.
goodness.
Let me
I'm
just
so
give
sorry.
you the last 10 minutes so that we wrap up the discussion for the day. So I just have 2 final questions to ask you, then we call it a day. Your school is in Edmonton in Alberta, right?
Yes,
The
please.
province is Calgary.
No, the province is Alberta.
Okay, sorry, the province is Alberta. The
Edmonton
city,
is the capital, and
the
Calgary
city,
is also another city.
okay, the city is Calgary.
And Edmonton is also another city. So
Okay,
it's like we are in Ashanti region.
okay,
There is let's say Amekum, there is Tanoso, there is, so Amekum is maybe Edmonton.
okay.
Tanoso is, let's say, Calgary. So we are all cities. Yeah,
In the same province.
exactly.
Okay. So if someone wants to come and study in any DLI, when I say DLI, simply means any of the colleges or universities in our Alberta, that's the province of Alberta. Since you've experienced it for more than close to a year or more than a year, what would be your advice for the person in about 2 or 3 minutes?
All right. So someone who wants to study in this province, in the Alberta province, what I would say is, first you should consider your background. In this province, they do a lot of agriculture, and they also do a lot of oil and gas. So that is to mean that if you are in the engineering aspect, because over here there are a lot of mining people. When I got here, I could see a lot of Ghanaian people coming to do mining engineering. I didn't even know they had that course over here. So if you are into that, any of the engineerings, you should target this province. And this province, we have University of Lethbridge, we have University of Alberta, we have University of Calgary. So you can target these three universities, and there are other schools like NATE, SATE, and other colleges you can also consider. So if you want to do something, if your background study is in something related to agriculture, I recommend this province to you. If your study is something in relation to engineering also, I would recommend this province to you as well. They do
Oil and gas. Oil and gas.
very well. Oil and gas, very well. This province does it more than any other province in Canada here. Yeah. So if you are into oil and gas, if you are into any of this engineering, mining engineering, whatsoever, you can target this province and you get it. Also for social work, I know the social sciences people would love to hear this. So over here in Edmonton or in Alberta as a whole, it's not. I'm just making this analysis with Ontario. The whites wants to, the typical Canadians wants to live in such province. One, because of the weather, they like the cold thing, so they want to stay in this province. So in view of that, if you want to do a social work, you have to also consider this province, because after here it is easy to get into one, the health facility, because these aged people, these people are a lot over here, and they need these people. So sometimes you have to consider these kind of things. And because if you go to, Ontario is very industrial. I mean, in Toronto, very industrial. So if you go there and you do, let's say, a program on social work, I'm not saying you cannot do it over there, but if you want to target it very well, because for me, for instance, as I told you, I got admission to University of Windsor, but I duck it and I came here because of the program I am getting here. I thought agriculture, I want to come to the prairie regions. So same way, if you want to do something in relation to social work, maybe health, you should try to get into kind of these provinces: Alberta province, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland in the eastern part, Nova Scotia. You can look at those places, Prince Edward Island and other places.
Okay. So just a quick one. I want to show our viewers and our listeners something. When you want to find a school in Canada, it's just simple. Just type canada.ca. So as you can see, canada.ca. You click on it. You click on the home. Then you come to the menu. When you come to the menu, you come to immigration and citizenship. Then you come to study in Canada. So study in Canada, you just scroll down and good. You can see find a school that is a DLI, designated learning institution. That is how we refer to them in Canada. Then you scroll down. So it says what? View list province by province. So these are all the provinces and territories we have in Canada: Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, Nunavut, Ontario, Quebec, Prince Edward Island, Saskatchewan, Yukon. I think only one of them don't have a DLI. I think that is Nunavut. As you can see, there is no designated learning institution in Nunavut. Aside Nunavut, the remaining territories have institutions or they have colleges and this thing. So let's go to Alberta, for instance, where Akwesi is. Please, can you see my screen, Akwesi?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. So, good, Alberta. So let's just scroll down. So once I've selected a province, I'll scroll down. So name of institution, the DLI number, the city you can find the institution, the campus, and whether this school, that is this university or college, offers PGWP eligible programs, you'll find it there. So as you can see, there are some no at my far right hand side. That means that all these institutions you are seeing here, when you apply to them, after you are done with school, you pack bag and baggage and go home, because you can apply for a postgraduate work permit, or you would have to spend money and go to another school that is postgraduate work permit eligible. So before you apply to a school, so once you click on next, so let's go to his school, that is University of Alberta. It should be at the far end. So let me go to the U column. Okay. University of Alberta. That should be, let me see, 15. 14. School no clan
You check you.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So 17. Okay, good. So let's look at University of Alberta. So as you can see, they have two campuses, one in Camrose and one in Edmonton. All their programs, once you can see yes here, it simply means that all the programs at the University of Alberta, they are postgraduate work permit eligible. Now, let's look at this sample too. Vanguard College in Edmonton. You see yes, but into bracket, they've written what? Details here. It simply means that not all their programs are postgraduate work permit eligible. So you can still get some programs that are PGWP eligible. So let's click on this and see something. So you are eligible for a PGWP if you complete one of the degrees below and you meet other PGWP criteria. When you go and study a Bachelor of Theology or a Bachelor of Theology after degree in Vanguard College, you're eligible for a PGWP. But aside these two programs, when you go and study any program, it says what? You are not eligible if you complete any other program at this school. So please, before you settle on a school in Canada, ensure that the school is PGWP. So we can do same for, let's say, Manitoba. Manitoba, we don't have a lot of schools here. So as you can see, no, yes into bracket details, yes, 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 no, 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 no. So you just click on next to know the schools. Brandon University, all the programs are postgraduate work permit eligible. So please, if you want to apply to a school in Canada, double check whether the programs are PGWP eligible before you apply. So those of you who don't know, you now know when you want to apply to a school. Just go to the Canadian government website, as I have demonstrated, and check if the program and the school you're applying to offers PGWP eligible programs. Let's take note of that. Akwesi, so we would
Yes.
like to take your closing remarks. It has been an impactful or insightful session. And please do remember to subscribe. It's very important if you've not subscribed yet. My folks watching me on X or Twitter, please just visit my YouTube channel, hit on the subscribe button because there is content for you every week. So just ensure that you subscribe, turn your post notifications on, and expect more content for the coming weeks as well. Akwesi, your closing remarks.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So, wrapping it up, I will say that study abroad should not be something that you think you need it or you think you want it, but you should plan your stay. You should plan everything because there are people in here who are struggling their way through in the system. Some get here and they probably get out of status. So what I would say is that if you want to move to any country, to move to Canada for your education, first develop a very strong plan. Think through, know what you want to do, consider your life first, know what you want to achieve in life, and then you think through, and then you get what you want and push for it. And one other thing I will say is that you can also do it yourself. You can do it yourself. Don't ever underestimate the power of information. Get the right sources, follow and subscribe to any the Delali network on all the social media platforms, and over there you are going to get all the information that because as I said earlier in my conversation, I had zero knowledge about this visa application thing, and everything that I got to know about this whole thing was through the platform. And so once you have this information, know that you have everything it takes to also come here. Lastly, I will say that don't relent. Don't be complacent about it. Once you have the dream to pursue it, please push it. Because the policy that you see today, someday to come, tomorrow it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very stringent. So the step that you have to take is now. Take the step, make sure you have a plan, and then execute it. And once you get here, you are going to be okay.
Thank you very much for that powerful one. Before I leave you, Akwesi has approved that I can share his email or his phone number out, and I've displayed that on the screen. His email is aamponsa2020@gmail.com. That is AAAMPONSAH2020@gmail.com. Then the phone number is +233 501 542 736. He's saying that he's available, and if you want to do this, he's not going to do it for you, and he's not going to work for you when you are lazy. He'll guide you, but you should also be ready to put in the work. So please, you can save the contact before I take it off the screen, and his email as well. You can shoot him an email or reach out to him directly, and he will respond or attend to whatever concerns you have. Before I sign out, just a reminder that next week, Wednesday, same time, I'll be having my second question and answer session series. Then on Thursday, same time next week, I'm bringing you another conversation with one lady who graduated from West Virginia University, if I am right, and she had a fully funded offer in, I think, journalism and communication, one of those programs, either journalism or communication, fully funded, West Virginia University. So look out for the link for that meeting. Look out for the flyer. Don't forget to follow me on all platforms. Remember to subscribe, share the information as and when we post. If you have any challenges, please don't be scared. Reach out to me on any of my platforms, and I'll see how best I can also support you in your study abroad journey. It has been a lovely time with all of you, and I appreciate the time spent by all my followers and listeners in attending this session. I don't take it for granted. See you next time. That will be next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely evening. Bye bye and take care.
Bye.